Hey, welcome everybody to the 2019 51st Battle of Atlanta. I'm Mallory Woods. I'm here in Atlanta. This is Thursday. The battle is just getting started, and I'm already pumped and excited. I happen to have directly to my right Mr. Toby Ruth here, who is the executive producer of the Battle Atlanta, also the president of Truth Entertainment TV, and also the promoter's son. You got a bunch of hats. Toby, I know you're excited about this year's Battle Atlanta. Tell me what's new that we have going on.
Oh, we got so many exciting things coming up for Battle of Atlanta this year. Right now, we got the Competitive Edge camp going on over in this ballroom just to the left of us. They've been rocking and rolling since about 10 a.m. this morning, and that's going to run probably till about 4 o'clock. And then at 5, we have our Next Level Sparring Camp tonight. So if you haven't signed up for the Next Level Sparring Camp tonight, you need to come on out and get registered. There's still time to get registered for the sparring camp. The guys from Team Next Level, Jesse Ray, Kodak Ray, James Poor, Anthony Merricks, Tyson Ray, these guys are all going to be here to work with anyone who's looking to do some sparring. Get better at your skills. Get prepared for tomorrow. We've got tons of fighting tomorrow. We've got all the open weight divisions. We have the team divisions, and those are some of the big things that everybody's super excited about coming out to Battle of Atlanta for.
I mean, like, just to step back and talk about the Competitive Edge camp, you've got Reed Presley, you've got Mackenzie and Reese. Heck, you have almost every sibling of the Presley clan that's in there. All of those are world champions. Just to see, we've been looking at the monitor. They've been showing a couple shots of everything that's going on there. You're going to be learning things from Jackson Rudolph. So if you want to learn about how to, step up your game for bow staff. Reed, who's no slouch. If you can handle 2 bow staffs, you can learn that from Reed. Mackenzie Emery has been, I think people have seen that People of Austin that's got 20 million views. I mean, you have so many superstars like that at just a camp right there, and we're going to definitely cover the Next Level camp. It was packed when I looked in earlier. And you can hear them over there. What are some of the things also that we just briefly would talk about that they're going to learn in there?
So, obviously, just like you said, we have some of the best world champions in forms and weapons in the world right over there in that ballroom working with tons of kids who are trying to improve their skill set in forms and weapons competition. So they're going to learn everything. And like you said, you pick, different of the athlete. Reed's the double bow guy. He also is a very good traditionalist. I know people don't give him a lot of credit for that, but he picks up that piece as well.
Okay.
With Jackson, you're definitely going to learn a lot of handwork. How to spin the bow, a lot of releases, catch and release. Because in the world, is there anyone better than Jackson Rudolph?
Right now, no.
That? No,
right
I don't
now,
think
no.
so. So, and then like Mackenzie, like you said, she's going to teach them all kinds of things with commas and. Doesn't she do sword as well?
She does sword as well.
I thought so.
And we have a couple shots of her as we're going back and forth. She has the ability to control. I remember we were asking her for some B-roll footage, and she just takes the camera and just spins it right on her thumb like a basketball player would do with basketball.
I watched her do it on her highlight reels on Facebook, and I try to do it with my son's commas, and I can do a basketball.
Right.
I cannot do
but
commas.
a comma,
It's amazing.
you don't have that surface area just to do that. Mentioned before, Reed is an excellent traditionalist, but we know him most for the double bow. The interesting story about that is, I remember asking him, I said, how'd you come up with this idea to do, double bow? And he said he was injured, and he was just kind of fooling around, working on some things, and then he said, you know what, I started thinking about, what if I can do 2 bow staffs, at one time? And then that developed into a form that we hadn't seen. Now you have a lot of people that are out there, once you do that, imitation is the best form of flattery. But Reed is, in my opinion, one of the originators, and he does it so well.
And that's the thing, the guy who does it first is usually the one that gets all the credit, and they're the trendsetter. And Reed Presley's definitely that guy. He set out to be the first NASCAR world competitor to get on the main stage with doing the double bow, and he's just, he's the standard by which everything else is set. Now, the Presley brother that gets the least amount of love, I guess, sometimes is Cole Presley.
True.
And so Cole, who is in his own right, probably, if I had to sit, because I see these guys behind the scenes. I see them in the dojos when they're out there practicing and dropping weapons and figuring these things out. Cole's the creator. I mean, he is probably, of the 3, the most talented in that sense. He's got a very imaginative way of putting things together. And, we've seen him before do multiple weapons. He's very creative with his music and his, his combos that he puts together for his forms and weapons. And he's here this weekend. He's actually been out, I think, with injury for most of the season. So I'm looking forward to seeing him being on the big stage this weekend and competing with Jackson and Reed and some of these guys. Because, I mean, Cole, I always tell, his dad, Ronnie, I'm like, Cole gets the least amount of pub, but he's probably innately the most talented of the 3. That's what I think. That's my opinion. So I'd like to see what he can pull off this weekend. I know last year at the U.S. Open, or maybe it was the year before, I can't remember, he was killing his form and then just dropped at the very last minute. It was
that
like
slight drop.
I think everyone in the audience was with me. They were just like, oh, because they just they just knew that was his best form that he'd done all season. It was amazing. So look for some great stuff from him this weekend, and we'll see what happens.
And not to be overlooked, of course, you've got Jackson Rudolph. And if you've been out here to look at any tournament, you've seen Jackson. Jackson is constantly innovating his form. It's funny how many moves from a creative form or CMX form comes from just playing around. You're in the dojo, it's been an hour of training, and you say, hey, I'm going to try to catch this bow and like this, and when the first time I saw Jackson pull that off, I couldn't believe it,
And so last night we were standing out here in this garden court. We just kind of finished a team meeting, and Jackson had been working, I think, maybe some privates, or maybe they had some meetings or something with their competitive edge group or Paul Mitchell or something. I don't know. He was out here in the garden court, and he had a little teeny tiny bow. It was probably about this tall. I was like, is that yours? And he said, no, it belongs to somebody. But what amazed me was he was standing there the whole time we were having a conversation, just twirling this thing and doing all kinds of tricks with just one hand. And I'm just sitting here thinking, that is how those things evolve. He's just it's almost second nature to him. To me, I would sit there and fumble and flip it, but Jackson, he's the best when it comes to hands and catch and release and twirling that bow staff. It's amazing.
I mean, he just seems to come up with more and more stuff every time you see him. I think we're going to go ahead and swing it on over to a sideline interview in a couple seconds here. I'm going to and just make sure that we're ready. I think we've got Joe Perry, who's got an interview lined up. Let's see if Joe's ready right now. We're going to swing it over to Joe.
Go ahead, Joe. You're live.
They are live. You're ready to go, guys.
And I'm with Joey.
Okay, cool. They're live. Going to come back to us. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Looks like we got a little bit of an issue with the microphone. We're going to get that worked out. But while they get that issue worked out, Toby, we're just talking about some of the great forms competitors from Competitive Edge. And don't forget, right now, not at this camp, the Presleys have another sibling that's coming up and winning in her own right. And I'm pretty sure if they keep running these camps, she's going to be up there teaching as well.
And probably what most people don't know about Avery Presley is that she's in probably one of the toughest divisions in NASCA.
Mm-hmm.
Her girls division is stacked with some really, really great competitors. And so there's a constant battle between those girls to see who's going to come out on top and even make it to the runoffs or the grands. But Avery is starting to really, so all these years she's been in the shadow of her brothers. Mm-hmm. But she's really starting to, she's getting older and she's getting more mature and she's getting stronger in all of her moves and her tricks and stuff. So she's going to expect big things from her because she is a competitor. You see her out here when she's just kind of hanging out outside the tournament. She's super laid back, super chill. But when she crosses into that mat, it's like that switch flips, and she is completely different. She's a warrior. She's a competitor. And so, people know that, and they expect that from her. And so, we got to respect that from Avery when she gets out there to perform.
One of the great things about doing these tournaments is you meet these kids and you get to watch them grow up and everything. And a lot of parents that don't have children in the martial arts, if they come out and they view something like that, they will see an Avery, and then 1 second she's just, she's a 9-year-old girl, 10-year-old girl as she is, and then the next second, boom, the flip switch, and she's this warrior that's out on stage, intense, and people that, they start to think, maybe my kids can do that, maybe being in the martial arts. It's amazing transformation.
And that's what we want. We do want people to see these great competitors. They come out and they go, I want to be that person, or I want to do that thing. But the thing is also keep in mind, it's like any other sport. You're not going to be able to dunk a basketball the first time you walk out on the court. You're not going to be able to shoot threes from beyond the arc. Just like when you get on the stage for martial arts, you're not going to be able to do some of the tricks, flips, or even some of the really difficult, martial arts moves that are in a forms and weapons, performance just the first time you do it. You've got to build those fundamental skills. You've got to get in there as a white belt and start building those fundamental foundations. And it'll come just like anything else. Put in the work, do the things that you need to get done, because people don't understand. They see Avery, she's this young girl. But Avery's been doing this since she was old enough to walk. So, she's been doing this her whole life, and that's something that people got to keep in mind. But we love that about Avery. She's someone who can inspire other kids to get out there to your local dojo, to get out here and compete in karate tournaments. That's what we're looking for, in the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're ready to go back to that sideline interview.
Look, think we got that sideline. We got a little technical issues ready to go, so we're going to go ahead and toss it back over there to Joe Perry.
And we're going to go live now.
And Joe, you're live.
That's big. It's a little bit. He's a transformer.
Like the little one that cusses all the time in the movie.
Exactly.
What's up? Josh Horde here at the Battle of Atlanta, hanging out with Joey with an amazing shirt. We kind of got the memo. Mallory, you got the memo. Toby, where you at, brother? Come on, man. You're better than that. So anyways, you've been to the battle plenty of times, Joey. What was one of your favorite memories from a past battle?
You know, I have a ton of favorite memories from the Battle of Atlanta. One of my favorites was just a few years ago, actually. Carmichael Simon, Ernie Reyes Jr. Of course, growing up and me being part of the West Coast family, I've got a little connection there. But I thought that event was amazing. We had a great 720 challenge that paid homage to the real past, you know, with Ernie and Carmichael. And to me, that meant a lot, and I think that was a special event. We had a lot of fun on stage with the DJs. That was one of my most memorable for the last few years, really. But there's so many legendary moments over the years, so many legendary competitors come here. It's the battle. Why would you not be here?
That's so true. I remember that moment myself. I have one that sticks out. I came to the battle and advanced a red belt. I don't remember the years, early 90s, and I got to watch Rick Rufus fight in a full contact fight in stage at the battle at the Omni. It was absolutely amazing. Fast forward to now. What about this battle? What are you looking forward to? Because I know you have some inside information that some of us don't have. So
just a little bit, and I don't want to let any of the cats quite out of the bag, but you know, obviously, like everybody, looking forward to the high-level world champion, top-ranked competitors competing. I'm a little biased, but I know there's a lot of great color belts regionally coming in that are kind of got next, you know, the next up-and-comers. When you look at some of the top competitors today, they started here or have come through here, and I kind of have a soft spot in my heart for those up-and-comers. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do and seeing some of them be highlighted on stage, which is a little unique for the event.
speaking of up-and-comers, right now we have the Competitive Edge Camp going on right over here. Tell us about that. Who's in there, what's going on, and what they're doing?
You know, the last couple of years, Competitive Edge has really came up as a team, but it's also really about the fact that they have world champion coaches. And this weekend, these students and these competitors getting to come and compete are getting, you know, the best of the best. You've got Mackenzie Emery, you've got Jackson Rudolph, you've got Cole Presley, Reed Presley, Jake Presley, and then a lot of the Competitive Edge kids that are world champions that are also assisting with the camp. There's really no better sport karate camp going right now, and the fact that you can come to the Battle of Atlanta and do this type of camp with these champions, absolutely amazing.
You know, being in the industry, not only can they compete, they also can teach.
I mean, looking at the snips we've seen from Competitive Edge, those kids are there and absolutely having a great time. I posted a quick clip from Instagram, and it was just great. You have a room full of competitors out there getting instruction from Reed, and they were having a contest which side was louder, and we could hear that all the way back in our office over there.
Yeah, it's amazing. There's a lot of energy in that room. You know, in fact, the hotel has to tell us to be quiet sometimes because we get a lot of things going on, but that's okay. You know, one of the things that people don't really get when you come out to these Competitive Edge camps is, you know, the crazy thing I see, some of these kids are now 14, 15, 16, 17, who were just, you know, we started the camp I think 4 or 5 years ago, and they were little kids, and they're in that camp, and they weren't that good then, but they put in the time. They come to those camps, they start working with them, and through that sometimes they pick up private lessons with the instructors and stuff. And the next thing you know, they're out on the regional circuit and they're getting stronger and they're getting better. And then now these guys are 14, 15, 16, 17, and they're competing for the stage every single tournament that they're going to in NASCA. So these things, every little thing helps, and that's the thing that people have to keep in mind about camp. Sometimes they don't want to spend the extra money, but it's like any sport. If your kid plays volleyball, if your kid plays travel soccer or softball, I mean, you're going to put the time and the money into it if you want your kid to improve and get better. And I hate to say it, but that's the things you got to do. You got to get out here to these camps. You got to start getting into some private lessons with the people, because this sport, it's an individual sport. All right, you may be on a team or whatever, but to make yourself the best, you've got to work yourself individually. So if you didn't do the camp this year, I would highly encourage you to come out next year for the camp, because there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of great experience, and plus you meet a lot of cool kids, and especially, I mean, you're going to make friends from all over the country that you may only see once a month at a NASCA tournament, but you made them here at the Battle of Atlanta. You made them at the Competitive Edge camp, and that's what you're going to remember more than anything. You may take home about a tenth of what you actually learned, because that's kind of how we do in the classroom. But you will remember every experience that you have and that good feeling when you left.
I mean, it's also something to say that the people there are someone that's in the camp with you very well may be your competitor. But I mean, one of the things that I do notice out here is that it would be what I would call friendly rivalry. Reed's cheering on Jackson when they compete for overall. McKenzie's supporting Sammy. They're also all on the same team. But still, you want to beat that person. You want to be number one. But the friendly rivalry that begins even from the junior level, I mean, where you see the same person over and over and over again. And it takes that rivalry to push you to the next level. You know, you need Superman needs his Lex Luthor. He needs somebody to push on. You know, you don't always have a quote-unquote good and bad that way, but you need someone to help push you to that next level.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people sometimes undervalue about martial arts tournaments. You know, I've seen it my whole life. You know, you go back to when my brother Brian was a competitor, and you know he was always competing against Mike Chatt and Carmichael Simon, Bernadette Ambrosia. Mm-hmm. But they all, as soon as the tournament was over, they all running around the hotels together, just having kid fun. You know, and that's what we used to do. And kids today are the same way. I mean, as even the adult competitors, I mean, they laugh, they joke, they have a good time together. But when they get in that ring, it is all on. And that's what we teach people. You know, we teach kids that's how people have the good sportsmanship. That's how they have the great experience. But the whole idea is that, you know, it's a competition. You can be friends outside of it, but it's business once you cross that mat.
It's 100% business. I mean, I've fought your brother a couple times for Rolex watch one time. I remember, you know, just to go back there, I remember I'm circling. I'm thinking like I'm fighting Brian Ruth. This guy hits like a mule, and we're circling, and he comes in and he blitzes on me, and I'm like, what? Oh, he circled me into the lights because we were fighting on stage. These bright lights, and if they were right behind you, boom, he comes in. I said, that was very slick. I'm trying to do the same thing to him. I mean, he's just a fierce competitor, and like, you know, nothing but respect for him out of the ring. He would always tell me, "Hey, Mal, you gotta come fish with me. You know, let's go fishing."
And that's what's cool about these tournaments. I think that sometimes like I said, people that don't know what we do here, that don't come into these things and don't spend a lot of time in it, don't see that most of this whole weekend is an experience. It's, you know, beyond just 10 minutes you might actually compete the whole weekend, to the whole experience of coming in here and getting to know people or visiting with people you haven't seen, in a few months or maybe even a year. That is the great part about it. And then at the end of the night, everybody's having, a drink down in the restaurant, or they're going out to restaurants together and having dinner, going and doing just fun things around town. And that's what it's all about. That's what our martial arts world is all about, is having those community experiences with a larger community from around the world.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, people sometimes don't understand. I remember trying to explain to someone that, oh yeah, I'll go to a tournament. I'll see a friend of mine, for a couple days that he lives on the other side of the country, or the mid part of the country, and we'll go compete. And she couldn't wrap her head around it. She was like, wait a minute, this person is going to punch you in your face or kick in your face, and then you go out and have dinner? I said, yeah, why be mad at them for putting in the training? If anything, I should thank them. They exposed a hole in my game that now I've got to go back and go work on. And we'll go out and we'll talk, how are your kids, how's the school going, how's your job going, what's going on? And you see that person, throughout the year at tournaments. You mentioned there's SLU, U.S. Open. There's so many tournaments throughout the year, and it makes it great. You build lifelong friendships like that.
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about it. It was like we were at AmeriKick, the last tournament I was at, and we have Jim Haymore and Yoskar Gomez going to fight each other at the Friday Night Fights. But when we took a little promo shot with Alex Reyes, and these guys were just laughing and joking. They couldn't even get serious enough to make a serious fight picture. I was like, come on, guys, this is a competition. We're going to promote this. And they were just laughing and giggling because they love that. These guys spend time together in the trenches, mm-hmm. and they respect each other, most importantly, no matter what happens. And I think that's the key. You respect them, and you respect the hard work that they put in. If they get you this time, I'll get them next time. And it does give you that little bit of he got me last tournament, I'm going to get him this weekend. I think Jim's even said that a few times about some of his competitors. He gives them that little bit of edge when you're back at home by yourself and you're trying to train and something big's coming up. Man, my buddy got me last time. What can I do next time to get? Because we're all like that.
Exactly.
But it's good, friendly competition, and that's what it's all about.
Well, looks like we got another interview set up, and we're ready to go ahead and get that thrown over to Josh right now.
Back at the dojo again with Joe Greenhall. How are you today, sir?
Man, how you guys doing?
I mean, can't complain. So just recently I had an order for you for your weapons, and I could not be more happy with them. I'm going to send some more. I'm referred you to a ton of people. How'd you get into the weapon-making industry? Uh-oh, nervous laugh.
Yeah. My son, Joey, went to a bow seminar, and we were not happy with the purchase of what he got. So me being a carpenter, I started to make them on the side, and that's how it all began. And now I think I'm the largest manufacturer in the world.
Not only are you the largest, but I can tell you personally, we own a lot of dojos. We order weapons from other big distributors. His turnaround time is amazing. His product is awesome, and the price is incredibly competitive. So we've enjoyed your products tremendously. Do you have anything new coming out? Anything special you're about to release?
Well, I'm always trying to change things up and make new stuff. I have some new commas and doing hydro dipping stuff now with the swords and stuff. So I have some new stuff coming out. I'm always trying to change and improve what I'm doing. Always.
Well, I definitely see that in your product and a lot of competitors that use your product. So I know you've been around the circuit for a little bit now, so you've been to the battle a few times. So what's one of your favorite things about the battle in general?
Just the competition. People are all good here. There's always a lot of competition. I've been in NASCAR for like 27 years. As far as I'm concerned, NASCAR is the best in the world, best forms and weapons, and best fighters too. The best in the world are in NASCAR as far as I'm concerned.
So obviously you make weapons, but I obviously know you have a fighting team too. So what's your preferences? Do you enjoy watching both, or where do you lean towards when you get to have? I know you're busy at tournaments, judging, helping, but when you have free time, what do you gravitate towards?
My school used to be a forms and weapons school, but I personally like fighting better. Most of the people from my team are from my school, which makes it a little more personal. And I tend to lean towards the fighting more. I love the fighting. Forms and weapons is good, but I definitely love the fighting. I love fighting.
Well, I would have guessed that because I see you get a little animated sometimes when it comes to the fighting. So, but talking about your team in particular, I love watching them fight. I love how hard they hit. I love how focused they are, and I actually enjoy how you coach. So, give us a little insight into how you coach, like say during team fighting.
Well, listen, they're my kids. Most of my students are with me for 10 years, 14 years. So most of my students are with me for a long time. So they're not just students; they're family. So, people see me and they see me yelling and screaming and they think, oh, I'm a bad guy and all this. But my students know how I am. And I'm very passionate about this sport. To me, there's nothing better than guys getting in the ring, beating the daylights out of each other, and go have a beer down at the restaurant. But I love the competition. I love the fighting. Point fighting is evolving. It's becoming part of UFC. A lot of UFC fighters now are gravitating to point fighting because point fighters are so fast. They can move so quickly. That's how it is.
I couldn't agree more. Last quick question. Is your entire team going to be here?
I wish they were, but a couple of my guys are over in Italy. There's a big tournament over there, so some of them are over in Italy competing. My team's here.
So you will have a team for team fighting?
I will have a team for team fighting.
I may be generating a strategy right now, so just kidding. Hey, Joe, it's always awesome hanging with you. And seriously, his weapons are absolutely the best. So check it out. What's your website again?
GForceGear.com.
Anything and everything there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks, man.
Good job, gentlemen.
All right, guys, we are back. So in addition to the wonderful Competitive Edge camp, we have another spectacular camp that's coming up, the Next Level Sparring Camp, given by one of my old teammates, Jesse Ray, who started Next Level Martial Arts. Jesse was a guy I can actually remember coming down to the Battle of Atlanta with Jesse, Ika Williams, Johnny Tension, all these guys from New York. And Jesse had this unique ability to cut angles almost like a robot. I mean, people are coming in, they're blitzing, and he's behind you. And this is just a taste of what you're going to learn at this sparring camp coming up.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're excited about. The guys, it's bringing in actually a group of people who are not from this area, but they're a big part of the NASCAR world. Jesse's been around for a long time. He's actually one of the most chill fighting coaches in NASCAR.
Absolutely.
I don't think people, some of his team guys can get a little hype, they can get a little aggressive sometimes, but Jesse somehow maintains his composure and is cool all the time, and I love that about him. He's got that ability to be sensible and think about what needs to get done. But going back to his fighting days, Jesse used to, I think actually his first team he was on was the Smash team.
Team
with
Smash,
Brian.
yes,
So
yes.
That was years and years ago. But at the camp, you're going to learn lots of fun stuff about different angles, footwork drills, things to work on your blitzes. I mean, these guys have got a whole lot planned for you coming in this evening.
And you also have James Poor there, who, if I remember right, last year did not lose a match. James
2 years ago.
Poor, it was 2
2 years ago.
He won open weight, and he also won his lightweight weight division. The guy didn't lose at all this entire weekend, and also he's a talented music artist as well. He's got a up and coming music career.
Yeah, so James, 2 years ago, he came to the Battle of Atlanta. He's relatively unknown then. He was just one of Jesse's guys, but in the NASCAR world, I don't think a lot of people knew who he was. And then he goes through the Battle of Atlanta. wins the entire open weight division, and then comes in and wins his lightweight division. And I think that year we had 45 competitors in open weight, so he ran the gamut, and comes out and he's he's the undefeated champion that weekend. And so that kind of, I think the Battle of Atlanta stage that year was a springboard for his career in point fighting. And then come to find out, this guy's an excellent musician. A lot of people, comes highly recommended by everybody. And so on Friday Night Fights, before we get started, he's actually going to do a quick set of some of his new music before we actually, the in-house music before we launch the show at 8 o'clock. So we're excited about having James come in and do that. He's also speaking Friday morning at 9 a.m. at the Off the Mat down in the Highlands Ballroom, which is just down the stairs. He's going to be telling his personal story about how martial arts has inspired him and helped him through some of his personal situations in life. So he's a great person. He's always been super nice to me. I think in the ring, I think some of his opponents might say differently, but he's super. If you're talking about a fighter, he's one of the quickest fighters in NASCA. He's just he's unbelievable, and he's just had a chip on his shoulder the right way at times, and it's been very successful for him.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because James has been with Jesse since he was a kid. And, now he's this young man out doing great things. And to kind of roll that back, we also will have Tyson Ray at the camp, Jesse's son. And I remember when Tyson was born. Jesse's been a very good friend of mine for years. I remember when he was born, but I'll take you back just to the Irish Open this year. I remember I was there and I was getting the call saying, hey, Tyson's going to fight for overall. Let's get a camera over there. So we quickly moved some equipment over, and I got there like a couple seconds late, but Tyson was down. He's down a couple points, and it was 2 rounds, and he's just moving around. And I looked at him, and here he is, 16, 17-year-old kid out of the country. His dad's in his corner, and he's just as calm as day. He got that just from his dad. And he's as calm as day. And then I remember you have all these people giving him advice. You've got Anthony Maris giving advice. You've got his dad giving advice. And then Raymond Daniels came over and said, Tyson, during between round 1 and 2, this is what I want you to do. And with those guys helping him out, he was able to achieve that overall victory. But you're going to learn from a young man. If you're a junior, this is also, for adults, this can be a great camp, but someone who has been in the trenches as a junior to do things as well.
And, so I think what we're going to see from Tyson in a few years, he's going to be that next guy. He's really put in the work, and let's not take away anything from what he's been doing personally himself. His dad makes him earn everything that he gets.
Absolutely.
And that's important. So because you can't be successful as a fighter or a competitor of any kind if you don't build your own self up through your own efforts and your own hard work, and he's doing that, and that's what you see there. But yeah, he's if you're coming into this camp, and you got all these big fighters and guys that are like maybe a little bit more intimidating. You got Tyson, man. He's super chill. He's a great person to talk to, and he'll be able to help these kids out at whatever age level. And that's one of the things that's really cool about this camp. And it's the first year we've done it, so we've got a pretty good number of people already signed up. I expect a lot of people to register at the door. We'll have some video footage of that later on this afternoon. I'm just super excited to see what it's going to turn out to be. Who knows? But I'll tell you this: you're going to get world level instruction tonight in the sparring camp. So if you haven't signed up yet, or if you're still on the fence, why are you on the fence? Get over here and sign up. And this is the Battle of Atlanta. This is the fighters tournament. So you want to come out here and work with these guys, improve your skill set. Who knows? You may pick up a trick tonight that'll help you tomorrow and take you to victory.
Sometimes the margin is that thin. And let's not forget, the great sponsor, ASG Gloves, is giving away 3 sets of gloves. And this is the way they do it. I like the way, like you said, everything is earned from Jesse. It's not like the 50th person, the first person to register, they're going to watch everyone. And the person that works the hardest, I think they're going to get one for maybe a couple of juniors and adults. I know they have 3 sets to give away. But the person they vote on as the MVP that does the hardest work is going to receive a free pair of gloves from a great equipment manufacturer that's out here on the circuit.
And I think that's something people need to keep in mind. Jesse does make you work. So when you come in, you're going to sweat. You're going to have a good night. You're going to get in shape and be ready to go. So, and I like the fact that ASG has brought in a little bit of a sponsorship for them. That's something that's good for those guys, and I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, and if I remember, also Anthony Merrick's is also an instructor from there.
Anthony Merrick's, and don't forget Kodak.
Oh, Kodak! How could you forget about Kodak? Jesse's brother, Kodak, diamond ring winner.
Yeah.
He's been out here at Staple now in the Atlanta area. He moved here quite a few years
James
ago.
actually lives here too.
That's right.
So James actually working for Josh Horridge at his school now. So he's on Team Tech's level, but he's working for Josh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something, that's really cool. He's really – the thing is, I think people kind of forget sometimes, one of the key things in martial arts is you grow people so that they can learn to be out there on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Kodak down here doing his own thing. You got James down here in Atlanta doing his own thing. And that's just been wonderful to see. These guys who were brought up under the tutelage of Jesse, and this is just what it's all about in our sport, And Jesse gives back to so many ways. I can't even get into, the immensity of things that Jesse does that no one talks about, that he doesn't seek attention for. And that's just how Jesse is. And that's one of the reasons why, he's been so successful. And so, this is the kind of person you want your kids around. Someone who's going to teach the humility, the hard work, and you're going to get world-class coaching from these guys. So come on out tonight for the camp. It's going to be great. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it except you're going to miss out if you don't come and get some instruction tonight.
I'll quote something from social media. This is a quote directly from Johnny Tension, who is somewhere teaching a seminar somewhere, just sharing his knowledge. He mentioned that if you're not at the next level camp tonight, you deserve to lose all your matches in the first round for the next 12 years.
Well, I don't think Johnny Tension's ever been one to hold his punches, and he's been pretty direct about it. So that's what you got to keep in mind. But he's not wrong. I mean, you have an opportunity here to get tips and tricks, and who knows where that goes from there. Again, so yeah, you need to be up here tonight, get those lessons from this camp, and take them with you and put them to use in the ring this weekend.
You also mentioned that in addition to we just mentioned the competitive edge camp that's still going on right here, and we've got next level camp that's going to be coming up this afternoon. But you also have the off the mat series, and we're talking to, you mentioned before James and his story, but you also have Josh and you also have Alex Reyes. Josh, his name has come up a couple times. He's done some interviews right there on camera, but I can't say enough nice things about this guy. Another former teammate of mine, 100% solid person, probably one of the most respectful and best people that I've met in my life, running a business with his schools down here. And I mean, he's just great.
Yeah, I had lunch with Josh this week. We met up, I think, on Tuesday of this week. We had lunch and just kind of talked about a few different things. And the guy is one of the most, to be sometimes people forget that when you talk to them for the first time, that these guys used to be really hardcore fighters, and they're very serious about that craft. But again, we talked about this earlier, but he's super low key. He doesn't go out and seek the spotlight, and I love that about these people. But what you're going to get if you come to the Off the Mat series at 9 o'clock on Friday morning, you're going to hear from someone who is a leader, who inspires others to be their best, who puts people in the right position at the right time to be successful themselves. He doesn't just throw you out there to the wolves. He coaches them. He trains them. He passes on the knowledge that was given to him. And he is growing his schools here in the Atlanta area. I think he was talking to me the other day about he's talking about opening up 2 more schools. And I'm like, how do you have the time between all this? And now all of a sudden he's working with Alex to coach this power TDE team, and they've got some great competitors on their team. So, of course, he's going to get out there in the NASCAR world as one of the great coaches, but he's not seeking that. And I think that's what people understand. One of the things we try to do here at Battle of Atlanta is put people who are great people in great positions to share what they have to others. And so if you come to Off the Mat, he's going to talk to you about things that are going to help you as a coach, as an instructor, as a parent, as anything that you might need to lead others. And that's one of the things that Josh is going to bring to that session on Friday morning.
And that's free, if I'm right.
That is free. I mean, you can't – now, it'll be free up to the point that if the room fills up, we have to close the doors. But you have to get a ticket. So when you're at registration and you say, hey, I didn't add it to my cart, but can I get a ticket for Off the Mat? They'll say, yeah, they'll add it to the merch and give you a ticket. But you got to have a ticket to get in. And it's completely free. These guys are donating their time. And that's one of the things they like to do to give back. So
that's one thing that you do learn as you get older, is you can replace materials, you can always earn more money, but time is something that's finite. You can't replace it. Once it's gone, it's gone. And for some of these individuals to donate their time like that, it's very special. And of course, the third person in that slide is someone who is very, very passionate about sports karate, Alex Reyes, and he recently premiered a new show for you guys.
That's right. We partnered with Alex to bring up a new show for him. He's been he's been killing it with Point Fighter. I mean, it's his grassroots thing that he started doing one tournament at a time, and the next thing you know, he's doing a tournament 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes twice a day. I don't know where the guy finds the time between running his own school down there in Miami to getting this show out on the air. So we called him up, I don't know, earlier in the spring. I said, hey, man, I got an idea for a show. I want to bring it to Atlanta, to the studios. And he was all about it, you know. So we call that show's Power Hour. And we're actually going to redo Power Hour. Not redo. We're going to have the second episode on Friday before Friday night fights. We're going to do it live in the Garden Court. So he's got a few guests lined up, and we're going to announce those sometime this weekend. But he's also speaking it off the mat, and he's got an interesting story. This is the crazy thing. Maybe I'm just using up Alex Reyes to death, but until you hear his story about his struggles, and that's the thing we want to do, is share the realness of people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you see these guys, and you think one thing about them, but until you sit down and have a conversation across the table with them and really get to know who they are as people, you don't really know who they are. But Alex has a great story, and he is super great. His heart is really in the right place. You know, people may remember him as this fighter, and he was like super hype all the time, and sometimes got into a little bit of disagreements with people. But you know, who hasn't if you've been a fighter? But you know, Alex is really doing some really great things behind the scenes. You know, his dad just named him as a co-promoter of the Pan Ams.
That's right.
So he's moving. I mean, and you're going to want to come hear these guys speak. James has got a great story. Alex has a great story. Josh has lots of great stories, and he's a great leader. So this free seminar, this speaker session that we've got, you need to be down there at 9 o'clock. Check it out. It's free. Get a ticket at registration this weekend. A lot of people have already gotten their tickets. And we're excited to share that with you. That's one of the things we want to do. This is we're not just here to do the competition at Battle of Atlanta. We're here to provide our customers the best experience they can for the money that they're spending to come into Atlanta this weekend. So we're offering free knowledge, free experiences down there at the Off the Mat series.
Well, Toby, I know you got a billion things to do. I definitely wanted to appreciate and thank you for your time here. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to Josh, who's got another guest lineup. Thank you for your time. And I know this year's Battle of Atlanta is going to be absolutely amazing. We're going to go ahead and get ready to go over to Josh.
Thanks, guys.
Isabella Caracta, and I may have practiced your last name a few times to get it right. So we're just touching base, talking about women's fighting in general. For those of you who don't know, Isabella is a great young woman fighter on Team G-Force. We just got done interviewing your coach. So let's talk about Coach G for a few seconds. So how'd you get picked up, and what does it look like to be on Team G-Force?
So I got picked up in 2013 for forms and weapons, and it's been definitely a great ride with Mr. G. He's the type of personality that's going to yell at you, but with the most loving type of way, and it's really it's motivating to be with him. And I think you could hear him in the background, him screaming, but he's really not screaming. So he sort of transitioned me, and he was the one who told me to start fighting, and that's how I'm now like all-around forms, weapons, fighting competitor.
Talking about all around, you compete in 7 different divisions every tournament. All right, so let's talk about these 7 and kind of maybe even in order of what you like best.
Okay, so I do CMX weapons and CMX forms, and recently I picked up Korean traditional forms and fighting, and when I have a women's team, we love to team fight with women's, and I think I love fighting and weapons the most just because of the creativity and the freedom, and it's a different type of creative that you can be with weapons and than you can be with fighting.
That's awesome. Let's talk about the cross-training of both those. Like, how does sparring help your forms, and how do forms help your sparring?
So definitely the explosiveness with tricking, and I don't trick that much, but definitely training with the jumping and stuff like that, and also just staying fit and making sure that you can finish a form and you can finish a fight from start to end and then go again.
So is your conditioning a little bit more intense, you would say, when you have to do 7 divisions?
Well, it's definitely not running through forms. It's I hit the gym and I do forms and I do sections, and it's a lot of different things to keep it interesting for me, because after a while, competing a long time, you're going to get sort of plateau and you're going to want to keep things fun.
All right, so switching subjects real quick to equality in fighting between men and women. I sponsor a female fighter myself, so I've got to watch you fight so much. And we talked about, I love your patience in the ring. I love your composure in the ring. And I really enjoy watching you fight. And I know a lot of promoters have been trying to push women's fighting up a little bit. So what improvements have you seen, or what else could they improve on when it comes to having women's fighting be equal to men's?
So I think that women's fighting and men's fighting. It's very fun to watch. I've started to grow to love that aspect of sport karate a lot more than when I was a junior, and it's just a growing love for the sport. But I think that in order for us to feel appreciated within the competition, we need to be able to feel like we're receiving the same amount that men are, because we're putting the same amount of work in that they are. We're dropping the same sweat. We're putting the same hours in. So I think it's important for divisions to be regulated by NASCA, and I think that's a step that NASCA has been taking recently, which is great to see that overall fighters and overall winners and runners-up are getting paid the same amount, but there's a few loose ends that need to be picked up, like team fighting and open weight, where you'll see some discrepancies, and I think that's where NASCA needs to just sort of use their professionalism and make sure that everything is equal.
That's awesome. So you NASCA promoters, pay attention. That's some great feedback from fighters who are in the trenches experiencing the divisions at most tournaments. So currently, you say you attend Duke University. Let's talk about what you're majoring in and kind of what your hopes are for the future.
So I'm majoring in psychology and global health with the intention to go to law school. So I just finished my first year at Duke, and I love it. It's just the most amazing experience. I can still compete in martial arts, and I can focus on academics, and I love to write. So I write for Juris Law magazine. And this summer, while training, I am also interning at a law firm in New York.
So I had a little time to pregame and talk to you before this, and I can tell you're incredibly an intelligent person. So how has that helped your fighting moving from juniors to adults?
Well, thank you. I think that knowing the transition and seeing places to improve is a big step in improvement itself. And so seeing that I was sometimes impatient as a junior, I kind of take off when there's not openings, just being able to fix and eradicate those problems is really important to improving.
That is so true. Being able to make adjustments in the ring while they're fighting is just a huge asset as a fighter. So real quick, one of your favorite fighters growing up, who do you emulate, who do you idolize, who do you enjoy watching?
Definitely, well, it has to be a female fighter, of course, but Morgan Plowden. Yeah, I saw her at AKA, and I saw her, I want to say 10 spread somebody on stage, and I thought she was just amazing, and her kicks are great, and now she's my competitor, and I think it really pushes me to have someone as a role model in the ring with you.
That's awesome. Have you ever got to train with her or work with her before?
So I trained at one of Jodi's all-female camps, and it was an amazing experience. He even had us call him yes ma'am, just because of the fact that we always are saying yes sir, because it's such a male-dominated sport. But it was very inspiring to see her and to see her come up from various injuries and stuff like that.
That's fantastic. I'm a huge fan of her also. So, Isabel, thank you for taking the time. Please watch her in her division. You don't want to miss this young, incredible athlete. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, we're back with fresh from the Competitive Edge camp. You may not recognize him because he doesn't have a bow staff in his hand. We have Jackson Rudolph. Jackson, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
First of all, how was the camp?
Camp's going awesome. We're at our kind of like halftime break right now. Just finished off an awesome forms combination section as well as a weapon session that we do. And with Competitive Edge Camp, we always try to take our students to the next level, always try to push them to get, the latest and greatest techniques in sport martial arts and in extreme martial arts. So like I was leading a nunchuck and a bow staff group today. We were doing all types of crazy throws and stuff, obviously reinforcing the basics first, but really trying to, show these students some new difficulty and, if they're kids, trying to help them become better competitors, and the adults trying to help them be better competitors and better instructors as well.
What does it kind of say that, in a sense, you're kind of opening up your book of secrets and you're teaching people things that could potentially help beat you? Do you look at it that way, or you look at it as enhancing someone else's tournament experience?
I don't necessarily see it as even giving away secrets. I mean, even though a lot of the techniques that I teach are things that I've engineered and created myself, the thing that I recognize is no matter what, from one generation to the next generation of sport karate is always going to have something that's a little bit better than the generation before. And there's always a lot of great things about that previous generation too. Like I've got a ton of respect for all the people that came before me, but it's like just the things that you see now, the athletes now are bringing new things to the table that weren't seen before. And so I recognize that, these students right now are going to be taking all the skills that I show them and taking all of that to the next level. And the way that I see it, I just want to help them try to be the best that they can be. And if I can do that by sharing some of my secrets, then that's what I'm going to do.
Taking a page from there, who are some of the people that you did look up to and that you did watch kind of before you arrived?
I mean, there's so many names that I can think of just off the top of my head. You know, Lauren Carney was my first real competition instructor that showed me a lot of the ropes of competition, taught me a lot of what I know about bow staff. Within bow staff, there were so many other inspirations. Casey Marks was a huge inspiration. Some of the early bow staff trickers, Corey Lutkus, Ross Levine, Nate Andrade, those guys were pioneers of bow staff tricks that I always looked up to. Being a weapons competitor, I always loved watching Cal Menjoka, the greatest weapons competitor of all time. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just a short list. There's so many people that I could name that inspired me, but those are a few.
It's interesting that you did mention Ross Levine on there. That is the Ross Levine that has fought the past couple years here, and current professional kickboxer Ross Levine. He is a huge bow staff weapons guy. I remember watching him when he was a junior, and he was always all about. I remember he was with I cannot remember his partner was, but they were tall guys with sticks.
Yep.
Nate
Andrade.
There you go. I could not remember his last name, but I mean, it's interesting because you think of a guy who is quote unquote primarily a fighter, but yet he loves the art of doing a traditional weapon and also doing things that are more extreme. I mean, for example, you've taken the bow staff to a place where I never thought that I would see someone do things with this. How do you come up with such original tricks and also routines? I always said that kind of most of this stuff comes up after you're playing around, like, wait a minute, no, maybe I can make something into this. But how do you get really creative?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of it comes from inspiration from those athletes I was talking about before. Like Ross, a lot of people don't appreciate, everybody appreciates Ross's greatness as a fighter because that's obvious. But, you know, Ross holds the record for the most Warrior Cups ever won with 9, I believe it is. Ross, correct me if I'm wrong. Don't knock me out. But most people don't know one of his Warrior Cups is with bow.
That's
he won
correct.
one of those Warrior Cups in weapons. So Ross was always a huge inspiration for me and those other bow staff athletes, and just trying to draw inspiration from them and take some of the things that they've done. Like some of my inspiration for some of my releases have come from taking Ross, who was known for body rolls, Nate, who was known for body rolls, and trying to take some of those body rolls and make release versions of those body rolls. So just trying to put a new spin on some of those other techniques. And then one thing that I do for the moves that are truly unique that I've created myself from scratch, one thing that I do when I train is I give myself 30 minutes every single training session of me just playing with my bow. I put on music, put on a camera to record what I'm doing, and I just go for 30 minutes. And I just kind of see what happens, and I create based off of that. And a lot of the times I'm going for one thing, and I mess it up, and something else happens. And then I'm glad that I got it on film, because whatever else happened is typically what I turn into one of my new moves.
And it is that self-study that you're coming up with the great things. One of the things I remember you were telling me about, and I think it was sometime last year, you were planning to have a bow release. You're going to do actually a side kick, which would bounce the bow back. And I'm sitting up here trying to imagine. I'm like, man, there's so much risk involved in that. One, a little bit of distance off, that bow's going to fall, and that's going to be considered a drop. How do you manage that risk versus reward for something that's such a high-risk move right there? With one margin of error, you're going to be disqualified.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a stressor that every competitor has going into competition, regardless of how difficult your form is. I mean, you could go out there, and if you're doing a release, just a basic throw and catch in front of people, that's something that can be difficult for a lot of competitors, just because, there is that risk of if the slightest little thing goes wrong, then you could drop. For me personally, I've never really been a competitor to get nervous. I see competition as fun. I see it as challenging myself to see what I can go out there and do. And at this stage in my career, I've achieved a lot of my competitive goals as far as wins go, and how many of these titles and how many of those titles. So at this point for me, a lot of my competition is based off of pushing myself to new levels and trying to push the boundaries of what tricks can be done. Nobody knows this, but I have like a secret list of tricks in the back of my head that I'm like, okay, I got to do this one before I retire, got to do that one, because there comes a point in competition where it's not just about getting the wins. Obviously, those are still nice. It's not just about that, though, but it's about pushing the envelope and trying to create the best version of yourself in the time that you have.
Taking a step back from competition, you are a rising senior in Stanford right now. Most people may not know, but I'll let you tell them what your major is.
I'm a human biology major with a concentration in neuroscience.
So you literally want to be a brain surgeon?
Yes, that's the ultimate goal.
It's interesting. I remember we did an interview before. I know one of the inspirations was a relative of yours, and you would like to help, cure specific diseases that affect the mind. I mean, most people see you and they see you as this guy who's got these great tricks, doing everything. You're sponsored by JPM, but you're a great student. How do you balance all of that out with a subject that's very difficult, but also flying here to Atlanta and competing as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always a difficult balance, and one thing that keeps me going is the inspirations that you mentioned. My paternal grandfather, who passed away several years ago, suffered 12 strokes before his passing. Also had dementia with Lewy bodies, which is a specific neurological condition. My maternal grandfather suffers from Alzheimer's disease. And then also my teammate and captain of Team Paul Mitchell, Kevin Thompson, in his battle with ALS, which is a neurodegenerative disease. All of those men have been major inspirations for me, and never wanting to see anybody suffer through what those guys have suffered through. And particularly, Kevin going through ALS, a disease where cognitively he's 100% there. He's got the same spirit that he's always had. He's the same guy. But he's limited by his disease. And seeing that, being somebody watching that happen to somebody who was
such a
the
fantastic
greatest competitor of all time, when you talk about all-around athlete, that's something that pushes me forward and drives me to work hard and study that field. But as far as like the actual day-to-day, outside of the inspiration and all of the overarching stuff, the day-to-day, wake up early, go to bed late. I have every day planned out. I have a list that I keep on my phone of what's going to happen from 7 a.m. that day all the way through. I normally do my training in the mornings, so I'll wake up. Normally I have classes starting at about 9:30 in the morning, so I'll wake up at 7, be at the gym, train for an hour or two, get showered, go to class, in class till about 12:30, stop for a lunch break. Typically have a few meetings after classes for different events at school, things like that. And then what I do in the afternoons is I do Skype sessions. So Monday through Thursday most weeks, I'm in my dorm room on Skype teaching private lessons to students, doing that till probably 7 or 8 p.m. in the evening. And then at that point is when I start doing all my homework and my studying, and that, often takes many hours, carrying me into the middle of the night. And then I go to bed, wake up, and do it all over again.
Wow, just this little small peek into the life that is Jackson Rudolph. Jackson, I definitely appreciate your time. Good luck to you this weekend. We're going to go ahead and throw this over to Josh Horwich, who has Rebecca Hammond standing by. Josh?
What's up? I'm here with Rebecca Hammond, and I first want to apologize for interrupting your Chick-fil-A lunch. You maybe had a bite in, and rumor has it you may have just woken up. Is that true?
That is true.
All right, Rebecca. Well, a lot of us know you, but some of us don't. So give us a little background about who you are, where you're from, and what divisions you compete in.
My name is Rebecca Hammond, and I'm from Marion, South Carolina. I'm going into the 7th grade, and my divisions that I compete in are the bow staff and all forms and demo and sparring.
So what I love about a lot of the junior competitors, you compete in all the divisions. Now, is this a choice that you made, or did your instructor or parents want you to be well-diverse?
They asked me what I wanted to compete in, so I just wanted to compete in all the divisions and give it all a try. So
not only do you compete in all the divisions, you compete in a lot of other sports. And now, where you're from, you're allowed to play varsity and junior varsity sports in 7th grade. And I heard you compete in a lot of other sports, and you compete at a high level. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I do volleyball, basketball, soccer, and along with karate. But volleyball, I'm on the JV team and maybe moving up to varsity in 7th or 8th grade. Basketball, I'm going to be on varsity in 7th or 8th grade. And soccer, I'm definitely going to be on varsity in 7th grade. But I have fun playing all these sports and stuff, and it also helps me stay conditioned for karate and doing all the other sports.
Well, just talking to you, I'm impressed. I have a hard time shuffling my schedule, and I can't believe all those activities that you have going on. So how do you do that? Like, how do you train? Do you have time to cross-train, or is that how you train, just playing all those other sports?
Well, that's kind of how I train. Besides, when I don't have practice for the other sports, I'll go to karate. But soccer and volleyball and basketball are normally on every single day of the week. So I have to rotate my schedule around. But if I don't make it to karate class, I always train at my house.
Dude, that's amazing. So we're going to switch subjects to the battle. That's why we're here, one of the best tournaments in the nation. So tell me one of your first memories about going to the battle, and maybe when that was.
I think I was 6 years old when I came to my first battle, and I was a yellow belt. I was like I was tiny. But I trained my first time with Jackson Rudolph coming here first, and I was scared at first to compete on a national circuit, but then I got used to it, and now I'm up in the black belt range.
Well, having Jackson Rudolph as your instructor heading into your first battle had to be a plus for you. But how has competing in tournaments and dealing with those nerves, has that helped you in your other sports and other activities?
It has, because it's made me want to get in front of a lot of more people than just getting in front of like 3 or 4. So it's helped me get out of my shy space.
Well, that's awesome. Well, once again, I've seen you a ton. I cannot wait to watch you compete and get back to that chicken sandwich, okay?
Hey everybody, welcome back. We have literally Captain America himself. And actually looking like Captain America. But the last time I see you getting buff now, what have you been doing?
Just eating the protein, all that good stuff. I work out a little bit, but
Go ahead, bring that mic up a little bit
a little bit higher.
There you go.
There we go.
Nice and
Test.
Well, if you didn't know, and if you couldn't read the lower thirds that's on the screen, we have Reed Presley, member of John Paul Mitchell team, and also just fresh from in the mid-level of Competitive Edge Camp. How's camp going for you guys today?
Camp is going great. The athletes and the students they're kicking rear end. They're trying really hard. They're also learning a lot. We've been throwing a lot of kind of like foundational work at them for the first half, whether that be with their forms or their weapons. And then the second half is going to be more release and flip trick based.
Now, you guys have been doing this for a couple of years, and I was just talking to Jackson and before then Toby about the kids that have been coming up through this camp. I mean, you've seen some of them when they were really tiny, and some of them are old. Now, what does it mean to you to see people that have taken what you have taught them and start to excel in their martial arts career?
I mean, really, it's just super inspiring, and it's like a proof of concept of why we do what we do. Like, I can kind of talk for all of the coaches. Why we wanted to do these camps and teach and everything is so that we can see the sport continue to grow even after we, in the future, eventually we have to step down, and so we want someone to be there to take our spots, and that's exactly what we're doing through these camps, and it's just inspiring to keep on doing more.
Now, as we mentioned before, you have one sister and a couple brothers that are competing with you. How competitive is it between the Presley siblings? I mean, you have your brother in your division sometimes, but he's still your brother. But there's also competition, and you're the oldest brother. Tell me how that whole thing works.
I mean, there's definitely competition with everyone. Avery's just calling everyone out. She's just like, I'm coming for you guys, and when we're working out, she's that way. With Jake, he's the perfect fusion between Cole and myself. He's strong, he's fast, and he's creative. And it's just so if you were to throw him into the adult division, I'm sure he could do more than just hang with us. And then Cole, we're competitors and each other's biggest cheerleader at the same time. So, I mean, I think there's clips of one of us winning, and we're always the first one there to give each other hugs. And sometimes I get more nervous for his form than my form. So it's a productive competitiveness, but it's definitely there. Jake, something that we have kind of going on is the Warrior Cup wins.
Right.
I'm always chasing after him. I think right now he's one ahead of me, I believe, and I was trying to tie it this year, but I'll get him next time.
Now, just to mention that for a second, the Warrior Cup, if you guys haven't seen it, it's no small trophy.
Oh,
Where do you guys put all this stuff, all this hardware in your house?
Right now, we have 4 of them at SMAC, kind of the family HQ school, and one, Jake just had to put one of his in the house. It's the one that he has over me, so of course it's like a reminder that gotta come back hard next time.
You gotta see that every day.
Yeah.
Now, remind me, how old again is Jake?
Jake is 16.
Okay, so we got a couple
years
before he's driving.
Yeah, that's scary.
I will alert the local authorities.
Yeah, exactly.
But you got a couple years before he makes his premiere, and then you're gonna have all 3 of you in that adult division. It's gonna start getting crowded. I know you got a little bit of space before Avery gets up there.
Yeah, no, just a little bit of time. Yeah.
But also, let's think about this. How do your parents deal with this as well? You got son, daughter, and who are they cheering for? I mean, it's got to be tough.
I don't know. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they put up with all of us. Just all completely different personalities, all completely different training methods, and even attitudes. Sometimes I think my dad's always like losing hair trying to get us all to work hard. But I mean, we have a good formula. It works. They whatever they're doing as parents, they're doing exactly the right thing, and I have no critiques in that regard.
Well, they're training you for when you become a parent of your own one day. It is difficult, and no matter what they say, they have a favorite. I know.
I think it's Cole, but whatever.
I was hoping you were going to say it was you, but maybe we'll get Cole in here.
Thanks for pointing it out. I try my best.
Well, I mean, how many? Let's see. You've been a member of the John Paul Mitchell team for how many years now?
I believe 3 years now. Yeah, time flies. It's hard to keep count.
I remember you weren't on the team, then you were, then your brother joined you, and then eventually we had all 3 of you. Yep. What does it mean to have you guys, your siblings on pretty much what is one of the premier and oldest the most traditional competition teams that are out there.
I mean, being on the team alone is such an honor and like a dream come true, and that motivation to continually want to improve and grow and just bring the sport up. But having two of my siblings on the team just means that much more. It's amplified, and we get to compete alongside each other. We get to travel and teach and just represent that team together. It just only brings us closer and motivates us to try even harder and do more.
Speaking of traveling and teaching, where have been some of the great places that you've gone to share your knowledge?
My favorite place ever, and I've been saying this, I think, ever since I've been, is Budapest, Hungary. Going out there to Zolt's tournament, the tournament out there, has been my favorite place to go. But places that I've been, Australia, Doha, Qatar, the UK, Ireland, just kind of Guam, been all over, but Budapest is my favorite thus far.
I mean, I'm following you on Instagram, and I'm like, oh, well, he's doing this today, or he's doing that. And speaking of, you have someone you share, competition with out there. You're traveling with Mackenzie all the time.
Yes.
And you guys are, I love the fact that you guys have done all this tremendous work, and you won at Diamond Nationals last year. And I said, if I'm counting up the money, and you guys say, "Oh, we're going to Disney. We're gonna have this great day at Disney."
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you have someone there, as a special person to you that you're competing with, and just being cheered on by her, and also cheering her on. She's got a lot of success. What does that mean to be able to be partners and traveling and doing all the things?
I think it's exactly that. I mean, we're partners in this sense, so we're not just there, and we're not just like. If I do a bad form, she's going to be the first person to be like, "Come on, Reed, what were you doing?" But in a positive, critiquing way. So we're just very supportive of each other, and we're definitely pushing each other. We don't pull our punches when we're training. I was just out there in Sacramento. We're training, and I'd be lying if I said she didn't push me. So it's a mutual partnership where it's like we crush it together, and if one of us isn't crushing it, we're going to call him out and say, "Come on, let's go."
And also, according to the latest Instagram post, doing a lot of sit-ups, too.
Yeah, we do a lot of sit-ups,
Well, as we go ahead and wrap things up with you, what is something that you have coming up, maybe you want to tell us about where you're going to be, that, maybe you want to promote throughout out there? I know you're going to be doing awesome this weekend in the Battle of Atlanta, but what do you got coming up?
I mean, kind of a lot of my focus coming up besides tournaments is I am working on my personal training program, Equipped, which is geared towards just like listening to people's goals and helping them reach them. Now, that is not, while I do fitness training in it, it is not fitness specific. 90% of the people involved in the program are doing sport karate, NASCA, ATA, or working to get their black belt. So even though I do say it's personal training, it's still really private lesson based. And so that's where I'm putting a lot of my work into. You should definitely check it out.
That is very interesting and definitely a good goal for that. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to Josh. He's got another great interview coming up right now. Thank you, Reed.
Thank you, guys.
Clear.
I am here live with Callie Garrett. How are you today? And I know you had a 9-hour car ride. You dropped your bags and came straight here, so thank you so much for that. So tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what team you're on, and what divisions you compete in.
I'm Callie Garrett. I'm 13 years old. I'm from Royalton, Arkansas, and I'm on Team Heartland.
Very cool. And what divisions do you compete in?
I do open weight and point fighting.
No forms for you?
No.
That's awesome. Now, how did you get on Team Heartland?
Richard Osborne, the owner of Team Heartland, he just came up to me one day, and he was like, "Do you want to be on the team?" And I was like, "Sure."
That's awesome. So I know you said your dad was your instructor, which is, I love those stories. Tell me, at what age did you find that you really enjoyed martial arts and you want to start competing in it?
Well, I started at about 8 years old, and I really started liking it about 10 or 11 years old.
That's really cool. So your dad didn't drag you here. You actually wanted to come today?
Yes, sir.
And we were talking earlier, and this is your third battle?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tell me a memory from the very first battle you came to.
My very first battle, I'm pretty sure I won a first place. I don't know what division it was in, but I was just so happy that I at least won one fight. I thought it was going to be a hard competition for me.
So was the trophy bigger than you?
No, it was small.
You didn't get a 6-footer yet? That's awesome. So what about this year? What are you looking forward to, and what does your training look like heading up to this battle?
Well, I have a team fight Friday night for the Friday night fights with Brooklyn. She's my teammate. We'll be on stage, and I've been training pretty hard. I've been traveling to train. And I think we'll be pretty good at it. So.
Great. So who you been training with and who you been working with recently?
His name's Brandon, and in Missouri we were training with him. And I've been having some personal trainers sometimes, so.
That's cool. So what does a normal week look like you when it comes to training? Like how much time you put into it, and how do you shuffle that with school, and do you shuffle in any other activities with that?
Okay, so about Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, I have practice karate, and then I have basketball almost every day afterwards, so it's very hard.
So you obviously have a busy schedule. So we talked earlier, you love the Pro Max circuit. That's what you normally compete on, and this is probably one of their bigger events throughout the year. So does your training change at all heading up to these type of events, or do you just consistently do the same thing?
Oh, I've gotten way better since the last Battle of Atlanta. I have changed so much and improved.
So will you consider yourself a kicker, a puncher, a counter fighter? Like what style of fighting would you classify yourself as?
I'm more of the kicker side. I like fighting on the defensive side a lot.
So do you like slowing the fight down? Do you like being aggressive with your leg? Like what would you do?
I like improvising a lot. I like to do spin kicks. I keep the fight going. I keep it going, fast fighting.
I've heard you're an incredibly exciting fighter. You like to twist it up and mix it up. So who in your division is your biggest competition right now?
Honestly, everyone's the biggest competition. Just everyone is really good.
It is a stacked division. Well, listen, I know you rushed right here from that long car ride, so I appreciate your time. You can go over to that room and take a nap now if you want, but thank you for everything you do for the tournament.
Everyone, we're back with the amazing Mackenzie Emery. Mackenzie, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Now, anyone who has been to any tournament in the past year, a couple years, has seen you on stage doing amazing things, but most people don't know this was the first tournament where you actually got on the nighttime stage. Tell me about that.
So in 2007, I was new to the NASCA circuit. I had done some local circuits around my house in Northern California, but 2007 was kind of the year that I stepped out of that world and into this big girl world. And so I got on stage for the first time at the 2007 Battle of Atlanta, and it was interesting. I was really nervous because it was my first time ever, but it was a great experience. I remember going against like Ryan Wells and Tyler Weaver and just the greats at the time, and I did really well. I didn't win, but I got on stage, and that was kind of what kickstarted me into really wanting to continue with this.
Now, you mentioned you were nervous, but think about that. There's someone else who has come on the stage for their first time, and they're looking like, it's Mackenzie Emery up there, and now you're making them nervous. Not intentionally, but tell me about that transition from being the first time, oh, God, I'm on stage, there's Tyler Weaver, there's this, that, and the other, to now it's just like, I'm going to go, and as soon as you put your hand up for your music, we know it's on.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I still get nervous when I compete. So I know a lot of competitors now, they're like, I've done this for so long, like, I don't get nervous. But every time I step on the mat, and I get more nervous just so I want to do my best. I'm not really nervous about anyone else, or my competition, because I know I can only do better than my last performance. So I know that's really what it's about. So I do get, my nervousness a little bit, but it's excited nervous, and it's, just wanting to go out and put on a good show. But that transition from being the first time on stage to now, it's like, it's every tournament usually, if things go well, and I don't know, it's a very humbling feeling, just kind of knowing that kids look up to me and are excited to see me on stage too. So.
Now, speaking of that, for kids, but not only that, but young ladies representing girl power. I mean, you have some of the most fantastic tricks that are out there. You are competing directly with the boys. You're doing the jumps, you're doing the tricks and everything. What does that mean to be pushing the envelope as one of the leading female competitors out there?
It's hard to think about it, honestly, just being myself. Like, I don't know. I don't actually think about that a whole lot. I just kind of do my thing, and I have my goals set for myself and things that I want to accomplish, and I've always been that way. Whether, it's a trick that I've landed in the tricking world for the first time, being the first female, or doing NASCA competitions, it's just I have a goal journal, and I just write down kind of my long-term goals and short-term goals, and I just go after what I want to accomplish. But yeah, the tricking part, I mean, I do. That is one of my specialties, I feel. And for the girl power, if it wasn't for competing against the guys when I was younger in the 17 under division, I wouldn't be where I am today competing against Micah Carnes. I had him for 2 years. There was 1 year that they changed the 13 under to 17 under, and they only did it for 1 year. And that would have been my year. I was the 13-year-old in that age group, and I would have done really well, and they switched it, so I had Micah Carnes that year, and he's much older than I was, and it was awesome though that I got to be pushed by him, and I think that's really where I made that progress and that progression into the tricks that I throw in my form now, and being against Danny and Tyler and all the greats that really got me to where I am today.
Right.
So
Having
I
those
think
guys
without
push
that,
you
yeah.
and everything. Now, also, according to your Instagram, which you have 1 billion followers, you purchased a car.
Yeah.
Was that all with tournament winnings or some?
Most of it, yeah, is tournaments, and I've just been saving my money from seminars and private lessons and just jobs that I've done. And yeah, I bought myself my first car last September. So it was kind of like my early birthday present last year for myself.
What kind of car? I don't remember from the post.
It was a 2018 Hyundai Elantra. So.
And I mean, your peers, people you went to school with, more than likely they're not doing that. What does it mean to think, if you just sit back and think for a second, I bought my own car from seminars, from tournament winnings. Yeah. It's got to give you a sense of self-accomplishment.
It makes me feel good because, a lot of my friends when they were 16, their parents bought them their first car, and that's really cool, but it's something different to like earn it and to know that I've worked really hard to buy it myself. And it's, and it just kind of helps remind me that, I'm moving forward and, all my hard work is paying off, and, I'm going to continue to do that as I get more into my adult life too. So
that's a
good
huge
start
step
to my
up.
adult life.
And plus, like, you're buying that, you're not saying, "Oh, I got to go into debt to buy this car." You're putting down money from that. That's perfect.
Yeah, and I was trying to be smart about it.
That is.
And knowing
trust
that I
me,
could afford
that's
my
good.
own car too.
Also, according to Instagram, you've been taking a little jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I love it. So starting jiu-jitsu, I do it through Kovars. So that's my home school. That's where I have my third-degree black belt through. And so I take classes Monday and Wednesday, and I love it. Just learning different styles of martial art really, I feel more well-rounded with my martial arts training, and jiu-jitsu is just really good for self-defense and just learning how to do all those grappling moves and everything. I love it. I'm still a white belt, but I'll be a white belt for a long time.
You've arrived, so especially learning jiu-jitsu, when you go to give somebody a hug and you immediately dig for underhooks instead of giving them a hug.
Yeah, and you just know what you could do. And it's like, I love jiu-jitsu because it's like a puzzle, and every time you roll, it's different. Even if you roll with the same person, it's just always different. There's always something new that I can learn, and I just want to hopefully continue that with my life, just always learning new things, always making myself the best version that I can be, and that's my goal.
That is a great saying, the best version of me that can be.
Yeah.
In addition to this, you've been dabbling in a little Hollywood, doing some things,
Yes.
got some projects. Anything you want to share with us?
I actually had my first SAG job that I just did a couple months ago, but I can't say what it is. So just stay tuned. When I get the permission to say something, I will.
They always fun to agree.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely understand from not being able to. We don't want to blow that and everything, but definitely look for you.
Oh, I'm excited.
I'm
excited to announce what I've been working on, and yeah, like you said, I'm starting to kind of go more into the stunt world. So soon here, I'll be moving to LA after U.S. Open, so that's a big jump, big move as well, and that's why I bought myself my car, and just kind of little by little, I'm moving toward that next goal.
Well, the good thing is that the stunt family out there, you've got so many former NASCAR competitors.
Right.
That you have out there that you can lean on. As we start to wrap up and close, who would be the first person you would reach out to for either experience or asking when you make that move?
Oh, there's so many different groups of people that have already helped me, start to learn and just give me inside tips and stuff. Matt Emig, he was one of my coaches, and I was on his team. He's an amazing martial artist and an amazing stuntman. I know he's starting to choreograph a lot, so that's really, really impressive. Micah as well. And then you have, another group of Matt Mullins and, kind of more of the AK Sideswipe group. Actually, Seth Austin, who was on AK and Sideswipe, he actually helped me get my first stunt job that I just did, that I was talking about. So I've already been helped out by a lot of them, and I just appreciate any help that I can get, any insight. So
just like you mentioned before at the Battle Atlanta, you're new into this game. I'm pretty sure you're going to be helping people within 5 to 10 years or even sooner.
I hope that's the case. Yeah.
Mackenzie, thank you for the time.
Thanks for
I
having
wish you
me.
great luck this weekend at the Battle Atlanta. We're going to go ahead and throw it over to Josh, who's got another great interview set up for us.
Awesome.
I am here with Kylie Boyer, one of our highly talented teen competitors. So, Kylie, so everyone gets to know you. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, what divisions you compete in, and what team you're on. It may be obvious, hence your shirt, but tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Kylie Boyer. I am 16 years old, and I compete in creative, musical, and extreme weapons and forms. I do nunchucks, and I do traditional weapons as well.
So talking to you earlier, I had a neat story that most students train under belts. They go to tons of tournaments leading up to black belt, but that wasn't your story. You took a different path. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I came to my first tournament really outside of just a small local one was the U.S. Open in 2017, and then I went to another Pro-Mech one later on in October, the SmackDown. And then right after that, the next year, I just got jumped right in. I just loved it. I jumped right into the NASCA AA division with black belt.
That's impressive. Most people can't take that route. So obviously you have some great natural ability and some skill, but also you have some fantastic coaching. Let's talk about your team and who your coaches are and how you got picked up on that team.
Well, after my first year at Battle of Atlanta, I came to the Competitive Edge camp, and I just fell in love with the team and all the coaches. I'm already trained by Reed Presley and Mackenzie Embry, who coach that team. I've trained with Jackson Rudolph a little as well, but I fell in love with it, and I made it. That was be my goal, to get on that team since I started competing, and then I just kept going towards it. I worked the hardest I could. I made it. I got some firsts, and I made it into runoffs and things like that, trying to get more attention, get noticed more. And then at the start of this year, January 1st, it was a great New Year's present. They called me up and asked if I'd want to join the team, and I was very excited. I started crying.
That's awesome. It's hard, to get a sponsorship and to get on a team, and so it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, obviously a lot of talent. So were you in that competitive edge camp just in there?
I was at the beginning, but we're working on some stuff behind the scenes, so me and the team have to run off for most of it.
Oh, so you can't share that with some top secret stuff, huh? All right, so who is a competitor that you really look up to? Maybe it could be someone that is a peer of yours or someone who's older than you.
Well, definitely one of the people that pushes me most in my division is one of my best friends, actually. Her name is Solange Olivier. And, of course, Haley Glass and Noelle Jellison are also in my division, and they're huge. But the person I'm closest with, like, head-to-head, is probably my best friend, Solange.
That's awesome. So you have a family that also promote tournaments for the Pro-Mac, which is an amazing circuit. So how about the battle? I have a biased opinion. I'm from the ATL, so I've been to the battle so many times. So what do you love most about the battle, or maybe have a memory that stuck out about the battle?
I love how open it is. I love the venue, and that just makes it different, like a lot more fun, kind of, I think is the way I would probably best describe it. And it just is a very lively environment, and you'd get to, like, once the tournament starts, once more people come in, then you'll look left and right, and you'll see all these big competitors that you'll normally just see on stage just right in front of you. And that's how, that was one of my biggest things when I first came.
That's awesome. Now, heading up to these large events, does your training change at all, or does it mentally take more of a toll on you, or do you just kind of steady the pace?
Normally I try to keep a steady pace. I train pretty much every night. I'm at our dojo constantly, so but I recently had a pulled hamstring, so my training's been a little off. I had to take a few weeks off and then decide where am I, and then change some things, and it's been a bit iffy recently, but it normally goes just hard at it every day.
Well, first, kudos to you for taking the time and making sure those injuries heal, because that's how you get hurt worse, So even at a young age, you can power through, but that's awesome that you don't. So who are your coaches within your dojo?
Well, actually, my parents own it and run it, and my brother is he just got the title of sensei. He's one of our instructors, and my dad really got me started, in the tournament, competing locally, and then we came to the other tournaments just to see what it was like, and learn more from the competitive edge coaches and all the Paul Mitchell people, and that was both my parents getting me into it.
That's so neat to have a family that does martial arts, lives it, teaches it, does it, promotes it. That's really cool. So what about future in the sport? Do you have any goals or aspirations to finish out this year?
For this year, I want to make it I want to be first in one of my divisions by the end of the year. I want to get a grand champion thing. But overall, I want to make it to stage twice this year. That is a main goal.
Have you made it to stage once already?
I have not, only to runoffs.
Ooh, Girl, you were so close. Well, listen, thank you for taking the time to be here. It was a joy interviewing, and I can't wait to watch you compete.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome back. That was another great interview with Josh. And right with me now, we have Oliver Drexler from Germany. First of all, welcome to the United States, but this is not your first time here at the Battle of Atlanta.
No, I've been here since 1995. 1995 was my first time, and since then I came a lot of times, 10 to 15 times, I think so.
Now, the one thing that's great about this is you got a couple of guys, they're standing off camera right now, but they're going to be fighting, specifically one fighting in the Friday night fights. Tell me about your guys that are competing.
Yeah, so the both guys are with me since 25 years. So they started with 5 years. One is 29, the other is 30. As I say, a long time with me, and they're very good fighters. So we will take a good show tomorrow. Now,
As I mentioned before, you've been here from the Battle of Atlanta. Tell us about one of your great Battle of Atlanta memories from you fighting.
The great memories I had was the beginning in 1995, so my final fight against Manny Reyes. And also in 1996, I was in the Grand Champion final against Pedro Xavier. I lost, but it was a very nice fight. So Pedro is an awesome fighter, was an awesome fighter. So,
I mean, just to take it back, I know I was competing around that time and everything, and Pedro is not a slouch. Neither is Manny, but Pedro is a rather formative fighter to go up against. I can remember specifically for myself personally, I was sparring Pedro Xavier at the Diamond Nationals.
Okay.
And I remember I'm just thinking, oh my God, that's Pedro Xavier. And I went to throw a body punch. I slipped, sidekick right to the jaw, temporary knockout. But I mean, tell me what you were thinking. You knew who he was before you got here.
Yeah, I know him because Peter was also a Walker World Champion. I'm a two-time Walker World Champion in 1987 and 1993, so I know him. And I thought, okay, I have to make the first shot. So I started with a back fist, but he hit me with such a hard side kick. So it takes me the breath. So,
you can still feel it.
The good thing was, the referees haven't seen the point, so they were struggling and made to stop the fight. Okay, was it a point? Was it not a point? I'm okay again.
Literally trying to pull your soul back into your body.
Yeah.
I've eaten Pedro's sidekick once or twice in my life, and actually I just saw him early this year at the Ocean State Grand Nationals.
Cool.
He's still in amazing shape.
Yeah.
Nicest guy in the world. He's still hanging around. Really cool guy. I told him, I said, we got to get together. We got to interview you, talk about your journey. In addition to that, you said, Pedro is a WACO champion. Have you competed in any WACO events as well?
Yeah, I was a two-time WACO World Champion. I won 1987 at the WACO World Championship in the final against Troy Dorsey. And 1993, I fought an Italian guy in the final in Atlantic City, was it?
Okay. For those that mostly use or compete in NASCAR for this tournament, how do you compare, or how do you like the difference in tournaments from NASCAR here in the United States versus WACO over in Europe? Give me a little bit of difference. I know that you can sweep and you can do a few other things. The points are different, but just give me a little comparison.
I was leaving WACO because of politics. So they gave us a contract that we only fight WACO, but if I don't get money, I fight everywhere I want. So I was also looking for new goals after the WACO World Championship in 1993 and 1994. I leave WACO, so I was looking for new goals, and I'm a guy who loves history, and I heard about Battle of Atlanta. So I love Civil War and such stuff. So I thought, okay, this is the next thing. And at that year, there was also the Battle of Atlanta, and the next day was the Atomics World Championship.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And if I remember right, in '95, there were for the lightweight division, for the lighter weights, there was, I think if I remember it, there was like 55, 60 people in the division.
Around 60, yeah. We were in the same divisions at that time.
Yes.
You gave me a hug.
Well, I remember that. I think if I remember, we were in the Georgia Dome.
In the Georgia Dome, right.
And you fought once, and then it was an hour later before you fought again.
Yeah.
And then a half hour later.
Right.
And that division, just to make the top 10, was incredible.
Yeah, it was. there was no space at the area,
No,
so
you
cannot leave, you cannot get out of the area, so it was so packed.
So thinking about that, you had heard about this tournament, the Battle of Atlanta, and then you come over and you experience something like that. What do you tell people when you go back to Germany, like, wow, I just came from this amazing tournament, and here's what it was like?
Yeah, the difference was, so we don't have such huge events, we don't have such big hotels where the tournament will be held. So, and the fighters are fighting other ways. So they are faster because to that time it was only until 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
you have to be fast, so otherwise you are out. In Waco you fought 2 or 3 rounds and you start slowly, so you have to be very, very fast here.
That is absolutely true. I mean, it's you mentioned that just the space. I just actually came back from Germany, went to an ITF event over there, and we were in Innsel, Germany, right near Austria, way down in southern tip of Germany. Beautiful country. I absolutely love the experience. I can't wait to go back to Germany.
You have to visit me when you come back.
Oh, I definitely will. We will have to plan that. So you have one of your guys. I'll make sure I'm pronouncing it.
Johannes, yeah.
Make sure I get the name pronunciation right. And he's going to be doing, is that the
RCFAI
yes.
World Champion title, yeah.
Tell me about Johannes, what type of fighter he is.
Johannes, for a continuous fighter, he has very good kicks. He is very fast because his main, years before, his main class division was point fighting, so he comes from point fighting, so he is very fast.
And if you haven't watched the Battle of Atlanta for the past couple of years, that type of fighting, you're not allowed to knock out. You can knock out to the body. You can't knock out to the head. We've seen Ross Levine do it for the past couple of years. What do you know about his opponent?
He fought him last year in the final, and he beat him, I think clear, and I expect to have the same outcome tomorrow. So because the other guy is a very good boxer from Namibia, but he has not the reach because his kicks are not so good, and Johannes comes from point fighting, so I think it's a different distance.
So tell me a little bit about your school in Germany, your karate school, or martial arts in Germany. Let's see, get a little bit of compare and contrast from America.
The difference in Germany is the most martial arts schools are like YMCAs, so they are not professional. So in 1990 I decided my job, I don't like it, so I opened my first school. It was a very, very small one, but 4 years later I bought my first building, but it was not perfect, and then I opened a second school. It was also not perfect, and I have to pay a lot of rent. So I decided, okay, I will start a new one, and we built it last year. So it's now, we opened August 6th last year. We have now 2 training spaces, 4 locker rooms, 3 offices. So it's with, for Germany, it's with air condition. It's with heating floors because it's cold in the winter. So for the little kids, for the 3 and 4 year olds, so heating floor is very nice. And we are the first who has also air conditioning. So it's not common in Germany.
Just to take it back to when I went, it was early April, and it was 70 degrees there, which is very warm. It's about the same temperature it is now, but it's absolutely beautiful. You could see the snow-capped mountains, and we actually got a chance to drive up to Austria for a minute. And I remember we started at the bottom of the mountain. We hiked up, and it was snowing by the time we got up, just 500 feet. But I can tell the difference between having to have heated floors and having to have air conditioning. You experience all that, especially in the winter. It does get very cold. Are there a lot of kids there? I know a lot of, in American martial arts, we have a lot of kids. We have the adult wanes off a little bit. You have adults that come, but are there a lot of children in German martial arts?
In my school, I think 80% are kids. Kids 3 to 7, 8 years old, and after that only 20%. So there's only a few adults. They stay a long time with me, but it's an awesome sport for kids. So we start with 3 and 4 year olds. So we learned a lot of things from Melody Schumann. So I also visited her school in St. Pete, 2 years ago.
I mean, it's great because parents love to hear or they love to see the discipline changes that the martial arts has an effect on their kids. They'll come here and say, my child now says yes sir, no sir to everyone. His grades are improved. He or she listens. Everything improves. You see the same
Yeah,
effects?
right. There is a structure in the teaching, so these structures. So it starts with the bowing. If they go into the room, to the dojo, so the bowing, you don't have it in other sports. There's respect, no disrespect. Is there disrespect, you cannot come to the next training and such on.
Well, as we see, martial arts is a universal language.
Yeah.
Thank you there very much for going down memory lane with me for the Battle of Atlanta. We're going to have to talk more and talk some more stories. We're going to throw it over to Josh. He's got another wonderful interview lined up. To you, Josh.
I'm here with Dalton Mitten from a nearby state, Alabama, who is kind of a jokester. I saw you messing around people, tapping on their shoulders, getting them. I love the energy. I love the excitement. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what you compete in.
My name's Dalton Mitten. I'm a black belt, 13 years old. I'm from Daphne, Alabama. I compete in black belt extreme forms, extreme weapons, traditional, and hopefully next year creative forms as well.
Wow, you're a busy man. So what brought you into the martial arts? Like, why'd you start training?
Well, originally I was 7 years old, and I wanted to be a Power Ranger. So my mom was like, let's get you in martial arts. So I'm here now.
That's fantastic. Now, what is your favorite division out of all those you've listed?
Probably extreme forms. I love extreme forms. There's less chance of like not dropping your weapon or anything, and you just get to have fun, and that's what I love about martial arts and competing.
Well, to help educate the viewers, define what extreme forms is compared to like a creative or an open.
So my definition of extreme is where you have an inverted trick where your hips go higher than your head, and then you do more of a 360-degree rotation in it. So like a 540 or a 720 of some sort.
So speaking of extreme, you also do extreme trampolining you're telling me about. I've never heard about this, but I'm intrigued. So tell me more about what that is.
Well, it's more like a hobby. I kind of self-taught myself, and it's like a lot different than martial arts. Like there's no kicks or anything. You know, with the trampoline, it has springs. You can bounce off your stomach and do like double, triple flips and stuff. So it's just really fun. Helps me learn my shapes and learn my movement and just know what I could be capable of on ground.
So when you started that, did it help your forms, and how long ago did you start doing that?
It didn't really help my forms. It helped my tricking more than my forms, but that tricking also led to cooler forms. I can, like, for flips, for, say, like a standing tuck or something, I can practice it on the trampoline, get it down, go to a spring floor, or just go straight to grass. I know the feel of it already, so I can do it, and trampoline just really, really helps me. And
that's fantastic. So I heard you're one of the top competitors on the Pro Max circuit, which is our local circuit here around the Southeast. That's great. And now you're heading to one of the bigger events, a world-rated event. So does your training change, or do you get nervous, or what is it? How does that work for you?
Honestly, I don't really get nervous. I'm just cool like that, I guess. I train harder. You know, I just learn my competition, learn who I'm competing against, and just try to get better than them. And if I lose, that's okay. I make friends here, and I congratulate my friends if they win.
That's fantastic. Just talking to you, I know you exude confidence, and martial arts really does help with confidence. Now, were you naturally a confident kid, or did you learn that through competition and through the arts?
Well, I can say a little bit of it did come through martial arts, but I'm pretty sure I was really confident when I was little. I'd get, really, really big on myself. You know what I'm saying?
I love it, man. Just talking to you, I think you've grown 3 feet and put on 30 pounds. All right, so let's talk about some martial arts goals you have, and then maybe some goals outside of it. Talking to you earlier, you have some pretty cool things planned for your future, so let's talk about that.
So my martial arts goals, I don't want to win. I mean, I do, but I don't strive to win. I just want to get better and better so that one day I can win. And that's just my main goal, is to practice as much as I can 1 year and then come back the next year and just beat all the competition. Some goals that I have in life, I do want to pursue this, but, my hips are going to get old soon, so I'm going to go into something, and I want to be a sports chiropractor because of all the times that I go to the chiropractor. I'm just familiar with it. It feels good. It helps me, and I want to help others.
Well, sign me up. I'll be your first client, I promise. So let's talk about the battle a little bit. It's obviously one of my favorite tournaments. I'm a local here. I've fought here plenty of times, and I have a team here. I have a huge team competing this weekend. What about the battle intrigues you, or is there a memory from the battle that really sticks out for you?
What intrigues me about it is just all the people and all the friendly competition. That's the thing about martial arts. There's no stuck-up people that just think they're all that. They're all super nice, all congratulations, you did awesome, good job, knuckle bumps, high fives. It's all that, and you meet new friends every single tournament, especially with big ones like this. There's many people that you can come to meet, and, I mean, this hotel is amazing, too. I mean, it's just a great view, great attraction, and I think it's going to be really fun.
That's so true. Martial arts in general really promotes that camaraderie, that little, almost like a little village feel. Everyone gets along, they train hard, they work hard. Real quick, last question. Who are you looking forward to watching compete this weekend?
Oof, that's hard. Well, I'll probably say my friend Kylie. She goes to my dojo. She always does amazing. And I really want to see, some of the top dogs compete too. Reed Presley, Cole Presley, Jackson Rudolph, all of them. Those are always really fun to watch compete as well. And my friend PJ Clark, he always does amazing, so I can't wait to see him do good.
Well, I'll probably by your side watching those guys compete. Hey, thank you for your time. You're a joy to be around. I can't wait to watch you compete. Good job, bud.
Hey, that was another great spot by Josh, and we're here with Jake Presley. Jake, welcome. Thank you for the time.
Hey, how you doing?
Now, we like to keep things nice and loose here. I really wish while Josh was doing that interview, we had the camera on Jake, but he was just doing a great rap of Vanilla Ice Ice Baby, which of course was not captured. But I'm not going to make you do that now. But let me just tell you, it was fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. I was just trying to break the ice.
I see what you did there. Competitive edge. I mean, you're there with your siblings. What was some of the things that you taught today?
I was working mainly on the bow with the bow staff people. Jackson, he had to take some time to help the Chucks competitors out. So I was working on basic strikes, basic tricks, getting some more advanced stuff. And we were just having a lot of fun.
It's interesting. I've had Reed here before, and we were talking about being in a family that does martial arts. And I told him, I said, hey, spoiler alert, your parents have one favorite kid. And I said, who do you think that is? He says, oh, it's Jake. It's totally Jake. Oh, do you think that's right? Do you think that's true?
I think it's Avery.
You think it's Avery?
If we look at it, I think it's Avery.
Avery's dethroned you?
I think so. The past couple of years, she's taken the crown.
I mean, I understand she's the only girl, but, I mean, you got to get that back. Your older brother, you can kind of like.
I think maybe the next few tournaments, if I just kill it, maybe I can take that. It's hard to be as intense as Avery. That's
what we keep hearing. She's just, she's a tiny, lovable little girl. Everyone talks about how intense she is.
Yeah. When she comes to tournaments, she's really intense, and then she'll go back and she just wants to get her nails done. She wants to go shopping. It's just completely flips.
Oh man, I mean, speaking of, you do a great weapons form with Jackson, Team Sync, and actually, it was Toby and it was also Reed to speak so very highly of you. Reed actually said you're the perfect combination between him and Cole in terms of knowledge and tricks and everything. What does that mean to hear that from someone like Toby and also hear it from your brother?
I think I just want to give the credit to Reed and Cole. Reed, Cole, Jason Warren, Jackson. I wouldn't be where I am today without those people. So it's amazing to hear those things from them, but it's because of them. Where I've grown as a competitor, as a person, it's because of them. So
now you have 2 more years really in the junior division. It's going to get a little crowded up there with 3 Presleys in the adult division. But are you looking forward to that?
Am I looking forward to competing against my brothers, who I think are like the best? Not exactly, but it would definitely be fun to be with them all the time, because even at tournaments, sometimes I don't know how they did because I'm on the other side of the building.
Else.
So it's going to be great to be able to hang out with them more. Maybe we'll train more since, Reed's out of town a lot, Cole's out of town, he's in college. But maybe if we're all in the same division, we'll be able to, be around each other more, and that would be a lot of fun.
Now, with the internet and every other social media platform, you must have a lot of your friends or even classmates that see what you do. How does that, when you go and you're around a bunch of friends, you just hanging out, just being Jake, but they see you on YouTube doing this, that, and the other. How do they treat you different, or?
Well, I think at this point they don't really treat me different. Sometimes it'll be just like, oh, Jake, do a flip like back in Nashville.
What about your teachers? I mean, obviously that they know.
I don't think some of them do.
Really? Interesting.
When I'm at school, they're like, oh, where are you going out of town? I'm like, going to California for a World Champion Martial Arts tournament. Not a big deal. And they're like, what?
You know, it's always, especially with the day and age of Google now. I mean, like I remember I went in for a job interview one time, and there were 4 people there, and I'm expecting this technical panel asking me everything, and they pulled up a video of me fighting and said, all right, first of all, if you don't get the job, please don't beat us up. Second, I mean, how awesome is this? And they never touched anything technically. I mean, that's going to follow you for, you know, the rest of your life. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go, especially like as you get prepared to go to college. You know, people are going to search your name and everything. And actually, do you have plans? Where do you want to go to college at?
I think right now I want to do a lot of martial arts and acting, so I'm not going to try to be traveling too much for college. So there's a university that both my brothers went to called Cumberland University in my town, and it's a really nice school. I think I'm planning on going there.
And speaking of acting, you had a little something with the former Batman himself, Ben Affleck, and The Accountant. Tell me what that experience was like.
That experience was one of the best times of my life. I was actually here in Atlanta because of Greg Ruth, actually, the promoter. He recommended me and a few other people to go audition for this because they needed a lot of martial arts, and I just fit the role. And the person that was actually playing young Ben Affleck, his name's Seth Lee. We actually became just great friends. I go to LA to hang out with him a lot now, and just getting to know Seth and getting to know like Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, Anna Kendrick. It's one of the best times of my life, just because being around all the equipment, the actors, the actresses, it's just a whole nother environment, because I've been around martial arts my whole life. And then switching 180 degrees the other direction to acting was just like, my mind was just blown. It was great.
I mean, it's interesting because you are stepping outside of your comfort zone. You're stepping into a new genre, a new area that you want to be in, and you're looking at okay, this is how we shoot this. Obviously, clearly, you got bitten by the bug. You know, what do you think maybe when you turn 18, maybe 20, you want to even foresee a move out west?
I've definitely thought about it. I've taken a month, 2-month trips out there. I haven't made the jump there, but it could be in the future. It depends just on how everything goes. I'm actually going to be filming another project that I can't talk about too much.
No problem.
Towards the end of the year. So, if that goes well, if that movie blows up, maybe I could be moving out to LA in the future. There's also a lot of stuff being filmed here in Atlanta, so maybe I don't need to move.
That's true. It's more and more there are projects that are shot here. There's a little small series here they call The Walking Dead. I know they shoot it this summer.
Just a small series.
We don't have any need for any zombies to do any 720s yet. But
you don't know the story yet.
We're going into season 10 plus now, so you never know. But I mean that's great. How you're out there, you're trying to learn this new craft. How nervous were you when you first went out?
So the first week we were there, it was just all stunts. It was with a guy named Sam Hargrave. He was amazing, and a guy named Fernando Chin, and he was just awesome. So it was just a week of stunts, getting all of it prepared, and after the first day, all the nerves were gone, because that was just me going back to what I'm used to. That's just stunts and martial arts. So, but then the next week we got into just only acting. So the nerves started coming back. They had the set chairs and all the screens and computers, cameras everywhere, lights everywhere, and I was just like, whoa. It was completely different, but after maybe the first few hours, I relaxed and just became the character.
As we kind of wrap things to a close, if you had to choose between stunt work and acting, what do you think would be the way you would want to go?
If I had to choose, when I first started doing The Accountant, it was mainly stunts with a little bit of acting, and then I moved more into getting really into character development and acting. So I actually really enjoy acting at this point, but I don't know if I could choose one, because I've been doing martial arts. I'm 16. I've been doing it 13 years, because I started in my basement as a 3-year-old with Jason Warren and my brothers teaching me. So to pick acting over martial arts, that would be pretty hard to do.
I can definitely understand
acting over stunts. So I might have to pick stunts just because that's my background.
That's your background.
But I really want to be able to do both.
Well, we know if you don't pick either or, you got a promising career as a rapper, as we did hear earlier.
As a rapper, yeah.
Well, Jake, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to head right over to Josh, who's got another great interview lined up. Josh, go ahead, take it away.
We are here with Chrissy Boyer. Not only do you promote a ProMac tournament, you help run multiple locations in Alabama, and you have a team of your own. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. My husband and I run SCS Martial Arts and Fitness in Daphne, Alabama. We have 2 children, Brandon and Kylie, and they both compete. Kylie's on Competitive Edge, and we just really love being part of the ProMac group. And the Battle of Atlanta it's the best. It was our first real NASCA tournament, so we're really excited to be here.
So talking about the battle, tell me about the first time you actually attended the Battle of Atlanta.
Okay. The first time we attended, the Presleys actually invited us, the Presleys and the Rudolphs, and they encouraged us to come to watch or to be part of their Competitive Edge program. And we got here, we fell in love, couldn't wait to come back, so we jumped in head first and began competing the next year with the NASCA and ProMac stuff, and we're just so excited. It's really changed our family dynamic and really given a lot of positive encouragement, to our students even as well.
I'm sure when you look back on this season of your life, it'll probably be full of good memories, traveling together, laughing together. There's obviously some funny things that happen, whether it's a road trip or going out to dinner or whatnot. So tell us about the relationship with your daughter in competition. Like, did you force that upon her? Did she want to do that, or how would that look like?
She decided that it was something she really wanted to do. She wanted to become part of Competitive Edge, and of course everybody's dream is to become part of Paul Mitchell, but first you got to start that first step. So she started NASCA, and she loves competing. She's gained so many friendships. In fact, in our hometown, she doesn't have that many friends, but she has, I feel like, hundreds of them when she goes to a tournament, and it's just so neat to see her come out of her shell and really push herself. She trains daily, she's very regimented, and she works hard, she pushes herself, and I love seeing her take everything that she's doing to the next level.
That's fantastic. Now, is she ready for this battle coming up?
She is. She's coming off an injury that she actually got at our tournament. She was doing runoffs, and she did a side kick, which she's kind of known for, and she pulled her hamstring pretty badly. So she's been recovering off that. She's had to change some of her forms, but she's been training just as hard as ever, and we're really excited for her.
Well, no, hamstring injuries are legit. I've had one myself. But talking to her earlier on an interview, I think she's really wise about how she's taking care of it. She's nursing her injury, and she's still training properly. So we mentioned your tournament, so I want to hear more about it. And what is it like being a promoter?
Well, I run the Jubilee Open. It's in Daphne, Alabama. My husband and I do, and I love running a tournament. It's really neat. Our ProMac family is so great. Everybody wants to be there to help. All the judges want to be there. All the scorekeepers are there. I really enjoyed the family dynamic. It was neat. We were able to to pull in the May the 4th be with you theme and do some fun stuff with that. So it was really neat, and I can't wait for next year.
So going from year to year, do you make adjustments with your tournament, or do you kind of keep that same model? How do you work on always making it better?
Well, this was our first tournament that we did. So next year I plan on kind of following the same model because it ran really smoothly. It was on a great venue. But I plan on adding in some extra fun stuff to do because I think that it's important. When you're at a tournament, it's not just about winning or losing or getting that medal or placing. It should be more about building relationships and having a great experience. So I want to make sure that our tournament does that for the competitors.
They can not win and still walk away feeling like they won. I totally agree. So for those studio owners that are thinking about doing a tournament but just not sure about putting the work and the time in it, why is ProMac a great choice for them to use?
Well, I believe that the ProMac tournaments are really, really well run. The team is very connected. They work together well. They're always communicating. They're trying to make sure that everybody has that good experience. And so when you go to a lot of the local tournaments, it's just not the same thing because maybe they just don't have the connections to bring it together, to have the judges that are certified or the scorekeepers that know what they're doing. And so there ends up being a lot of time where it's just not smooth. And I feel like the ProMac tournaments are just really run smooth, and you can't go wrong trying any of them out.
That's fantastic. So we earlier asked you about competition, and you hesitated a little bit about maybe getting out there. So what would it take to get you back out there in your life competing again?
I would just like more time, but I also really like being part of the tournament and helping out, whether it's judging or scorekeeping or whatever it needs to be done. I love to be there to help make it a smooth event for everybody because we just really have such a great experience. I want to make sure everybody has that experience. But Kenzie Emery actually has created a form for me, and we will be working on another one because I'm getting ready to go for my 4th degree black belt. And I may be able to pull it out there. I even have music, so one day I'm going to get out there.
Oh, we're looking forward to that. So lastly, I'm a studio owner myself, and I know the importance of having a competitive team within your studio. What does that look like for you guys, and how do you promote that, and how many kids are in that, and how do you guys go about that?
Well, we have a group. We don't really have a team that competes. We try to pull people to those tournaments, and we're getting more and more that really have kind of caught that bug as well through the ProMac tournaments. We've gone to the U.S. Open. Everybody loves the appeal of Disney. We're bringing a group here to Battle of Atlanta, and it's been really neat to see them because they don't only just do well at the tournaments or try to do well at the tournaments. They're motivated in their own training. They get really excited about what they're doing. They're seeing others that can push them to the next level. They're not just comparing themselves to their students in their class, but they're comparing themselves to people like, Avery Presley or, there's just so many of them to look at. That it's so neat to let them challenge themselves and push themselves, and it's not us having to say, hey, you need to fix this. They're seeing it themselves and how they want to improve themselves, and that's so neat.
Well, just talking to you, I see your passion. I always tell my staff, passion sells. So I'm sure your students are lucky to have you, and thank you for everything that you do for the sport, and I can't wait to watch your team compete.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Hey, thanks, Josh. That was another great interview by Josh. That guy's just a machine. He keeps rolling. But we have with us another Josh.
Yes, sir.
Joshua Bruford from the Mississippi Showdown. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me on.
Now, you were telling me that next year your event's going to be ProMac. Go ahead and hold that mic up a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
Yes.
So next year, your event was not a ProMac event this year.
That's correct.
But
That's
next
correct.
year, you guys are joining the family.
We are, and man, we're very excited about that. I love the culture that comes with the ProMac circuit. I mean, honestly, it's a big family. It's the reason me and my family, look forward to each and every ProMac event, and on top of that, just to connect with other families and spread that into. I'm a martial arts school owner as well, and we have other students that are competing on the circuit this year as well, and that's been the biggest thing that I've tried to push into our students, that hey, we want you to be a part of this because it is a culture. It's a family atmosphere, family events, and just to see the way that competitors and their families support one another and encourage one another. So but we are a Truth Entertainment event this year. They're going to come down and run the event for us using event techs and everything. So we're excited. This will be our first year for the event. They're in Starkville. It's a college town, home of Mississippi State University. So we're excited to bring part of that culture to the state of Mississippi.
No, you were telling me that Starkville is kind of a different name.
It is. It's known as Stark Vegas. That's exactly right.
And you got to explain that to me.
Absolutely. I don't know really where that originated from, but it was it's kind of a Mississippi State thing. And I mean, you can go all over town, and there's kind of Vegas themes all over the city of Starkville there, and it is part of the Mississippi State culture and part of the Starkville culture. So we're just kind of building off that theme. Join us for the Mississippi Showdown in Stark Vegas, Mississippi, as it's known, and it's we're definitely excited. September 28th, so we're definitely looking forward to launching that event this year and expecting big things, and like I said, just really looking forward to bringing part of that culture that we've seen through these events to our state of Mississippi.
Now, you mentioned before you do enjoy what ProMac does.
Yes, sir.
And the culture around the events. What do you think it means to to be competitive, especially as a child? And I know your youngest travels with you, and we're going to talk about her in just a second, but what do you think competition means for children to push them to excel, to achieve a certain goal? How do you think that helps them?
Absolutely. I think it helps them in their everyday life. I mean, let's be honest. We're adults, and it's a competitive world that we live in. I mean, when we finish high school and graduate from college or move on into the work field, and you apply for that job, it's a competition. You know, you need to have your skill levels in place, and you need to you know, make sure that you have that character built up to be a part of whatever position it is that you're applying for. And I think that competitive sports, and in particular martial arts, because it's more of a one-on-one. You know, it's not a team sport, and I know there's pros and cons with that, but I love the fact that it's not a team sport. That because you know, in life, when we go and apply for that job, or you know, we're trying to get, you know, that scholarship or whatever, and there's other people that are trying to do that very same thing. It is a competition, and so I think that part of it transcends into young people very well, and also you know, let's be honest, we don't win them all. Right. So I really think you know, even as my daughter, she's 9, she's had to learn how to overcome failure and deal with that. So I think learning that at a young age, you know, learning that, hey, we can't win them all. We're not going to get all the jobs that we apply for and finish on top. But from that adversity, from that failure, I think, you know, it gives us an opportunity, me as a dad, as a coach, to really try to have a teaching moment for my daughter, to learn, you know, how to deal with failure, how to overcome that adversity that we're all faced with everyday life.
You know, I think that's something, Jeff, definitely to highlight on. You know, we were talking briefly before we came on. I have 3 girls, and I have one of my oldest, and my oldest has recently shared with me that her desire to be perfect all the time. I said, I never pushed you to be perfect. What is that? She said, well, if I got a B, I wasn't happy. I wanted to get an A, and I'm thinking that, okay, I know I don't do A work every day in my everyday job, but sometimes, you know, you do your best.
That's right.
And how to handle, like you said, handling failure. Failure, for as a hard word as that to hear, it does teach you a number of lessons. It
does. And you know, what I've tried to communicate to my own daughter and to our other students and people that I come in contact with is, you know, we can't be perfect. You know, none of us are. But we can strive for excellence. You know, there is a difference. And you know, I have tried to really create a mindset into my own child. And I think this is a good message for all of us is, you know, we need to strive for excellence. Set the bar high. You know, do everything we can and realize that, hey, we can't be perfect. And I think that takes a lot of pressure off of us, especially our kids. You know, I think they do have a lot of times that mindset of, well, I've got to, you know, be perfect and do this in a perfect way. And then again, I think that's where the competitive sports comes into play in the sense, you know, it's a teaching moment to show them you can't be perfect all the time.
It teaches you to work towards a goal.
Absolutely.
And set the goal, work toward it, put the hard work in, and if the results are what they want, that's great. If they're not, then we're going to reload. We're going to do it again. You were mentioning that you got your daughter involved because, like a lot of kids, unfortunately, out here, she was being bullied.
Yes, sir. That's correct. That was a hard struggle for you know, for her, of course. But I'll be honest with you, as a dad, you know, it was hard for me. You know, I've been in ministry for 15 plus years and counseled a lot of students and a lot of families through that. But until it hits home, it's really hard to understand how to deal with that. And, you know, I'm so thankful that we walked through that together because, to be honest, we're better on the other side of it, you know, through martial arts and I'll even say through being a part of the ProMac family and the culture that comes along with that. It has brought her so much encouragement and really has, you know, taken her self-confidence, which was almost non-existent, to a whole new level. I mean, just to see her out there on the mat and even at home, just to see her walk through the hallways at school and you know, different events from the community, to just you know, walk with confidence and you know, it was a challenging time for us, but it's one that I think we have been able to really lock arms and walk through together, and you know, we're so much better on the other side of that now.
As we're wrapping up,
yes, sir.
If someone came to you and said, hey, you know, my kid's been going through the same thing, what would you tell them what advice would you give?
Absolutely. I would say, first of all, just to be encouraged, just to know that, that a lot of times so many of us go through adversity and different things, but to be encouraged knowing that we're not alone. That your child is not by themselves, and even you as parents, you're not by yourselves. There's a community of people out there that can give you resources, and that could just lock arms with you and walk with you through those situations that many of us sadly are faced with at times.
I think that's a very good answer. And like you mentioned, it's not only just the child.
Yes, sir.
But the parents.
Absolutely.
Go through that as well, especially as a dad. I want to protect my little girl.
Yes, sir.
And
100%.
And at the end of the day, you may even blame yourself. Well, Josh, it was definitely
yes,
great.
Sir. Mallory, God bless you. Thank you very much for
having me. And we're going to throw it over to our other Josh.
Yes.
Right about now. Back to you, Josh.
I'm here with Tammy Mitten, a.k.a. Dalton's mom, but you have a real name. We'll call you Tammy. We won't call you Dalton's mom. So I got to spend a few minutes with your boy earlier interviewing him, and he's just awesome. So I know the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and how he or you got into the martial arts.
Okay, well, I'm Tammy Mitten, and we're from Alabama. And we started in the martial arts because he was about 7 years old. He wanted to be a Power Ranger. So we decided to sign him up for karate, and we've never left.
That's fantastic. Now, I heard from a little birdie that maybe you started your training also. So what belt are you and what got you out there?
I did. I'm purple belt now. 6 years after he started, I started. So I love it. And it's good fitness for me. So I enjoy it, and I plan to keep going.
So any chance we'll see you out there competing?
Oh, I don't know.
Uh-oh.
It'll be a while. If it's up to Miss Chrissy, she'll probably push it.
That's fantastic. So being a karate mom, being on the circuit, a lot of traveling, and you're a small business owner in your hometown also. So how does that work for you and your family?
It can be a little stressful, but it's not too bad. I have a wonderful husband. I have a wonderful crew at our business, so I can leave and go and do this with him, and we absolutely love coming to the tournaments. Our tournament family is amazing, and I wouldn't miss it for the world.
They are some great memories. When I look back on my earlier years in the sport, I loved getting to know people, the memories, the stories, the travels, so the war stories that you have together. So as far as promoting a tournament, I know you help promote a ProMac tournament. So how did you get sucked into doing that?
Well, I do a lot for Miss Chrissy at our dojo, and so we just went going and just doing it. And I have done some scoring a few times, but I just love it. It just keeps me going, and you meet so many people. And I just like doing things for her because I'm just that kind of person.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I know we were talking earlier that Dalton doesn't get nervous, and you say you do get nervous, but you're doing great out here. This is fun. So 2 more questions, and then we'll be wrapping this thing up. So as far as Dalton's concerned, how do you keep him motivated, and does he motivate himself, or how does his training work?
We've had ups and downs with it, but most of the time he keeps himself going. He trains a lot. If I see him slagging a little bit, I try to push it. But I don't have to stay on him as hard as I used to. Where he's at now, he knows what it takes, and he knows what he has to do.
So is this your first battle, or how often have you been to the battle?
This is our first battle, so we are super, super excited.
That's fantastic. Have you been to any other NASCO World events?
We have. We go down to the U.S. Open in Orlando. We've been there 3 times. Or this will be our 3rd year. So.
Very, very cool. So as far as your son's divisions, what do you look forward to most watching him to compete? Because he competes in 4 or 5 different divisions.
He does. He competes a lot in the extreme weapons and forms. And I look for him just doing better and better. Sometimes I don't think he can get better, but he can. So it's just exciting to watch him.
So as a mom, do you get more nervous for him than he gets? And how do you deal with those nerves? And are you the fellow moms kind of gather up together and have each other's back? How does that work?
We do. A lot of us moms have each other's back, and we support each other's children constantly. I do get nervous because I want him to do so good. I don't want him to drop a weapon, but he doesn't get nervous. If he drops, he's okay with it. He's here to meet friends and encourage his other teammates.
So I have 3 kids of my own, and one of my middle child is not as athletic as my younger one. So we always coach him by saying, hey, man, I just love watching you compete. Whether you win or whether you lose, I just love watching you compete. What advice do you have for karate moms as they enter the tournament scene? Because we both know it can be kind of crazy sometimes.
It can. Let it be an experience. Whether they win or lose, it doesn't matter. If they lose, it's just they have to strive harder to do better. But just let it be an experience and enjoy the family that you get at these tournaments.
Well, Tammy, that's great feedback. And listen, you need to write a book because your boy's awesome and you're awesome. And thank you for your time today.
Thanks again, Josh. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, I've got a special guest with me right now. We've got Miss Alice Gross. Alice from right here, just 15 minutes away.
Yes, sir.
Welcome. First of all, you also with Team Infinity.
Yes, sir.
Let's just go ahead and start basic. How long have you been participating in the martial arts?
At my dad's dojo, I've been doing it for 7.5 years, and then competing NASCA like 3.5.
3.5 years.
Yes,
and
sir.
you've been to the Battle Atlanta for at least 3 years.
Yes, sir.
So what do you, for your division, who is it that you look up to?
Probably Avery and Bella in my division.
Mhm.
Avery Presley and Bella Nichols.
It's interesting because Avery, is funny, has been mentioned almost every interview that we've given, even with her brothers. Avery's name has come up more than once. What is it that you look to Avery? How do you look up to her? I mean, what do you, when you see her compete, when you see her walking around, what does it mean to be able to, like, sit by and talk to her, or ask her a question, or cheer for her, or even give her a high five? What does that mean for her to be so accessible to you?
She's really good at martial arts, and she's a really nice friend. She's one of the best friends that I have. She's really nice.
That's very sweet of you to say that. And I actually, as I buzzed to Bruce, like, we got to get Avery here. Everybody's talking about Avery. Also, Isabella. She's her and Avery, I know, compete against each other all the time. But does it mean, is it very important that someone's very approachable and very nice that you can talk to? I mean, also, is it kind of hard when those two are competing against each other? Because only one can win.
Yeah.
It's hard because I know you're not really pulling for one or the other to win. But let me see here. You're with Team Infinity.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been on that team?
For like a year.
Like a year? What does it mean to be part of Team Infinity to you?
I love that team. It's like an amazing team, and I feel like so honored to be on that team because it's so amazing.
Okay. So one of the things, I know you have a lot of great competitors on that team. You have Mike Welch, who's leading the team, and you also have Haley.
Yes.
Haley, bulletproof glass in there.
Yes.
Haley's a superstar in her own right. What does it mean to have somebody that big that's on the team that, she's been in movies, she's been on America's Got Talent, and she's just Haley. She's just really nice and sweet. Did they all make you feel welcome?
Yes, they do make me feel welcome.
Well, what are you looking forward to the most this weekend of the Battle of Atlanta for you personally?
Looking forward to watching all my friends compete and hopefully making it to nighttime show.
Well,
in
that
one of
is
my
definitely
divisions.
a good goal. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Gross.
Mhm.
And that's going to wrap everything up for you guys. We're going to be back in about 4:45 today with another live stream, guys. Make sure you tune in. We're going to be bringing you great interviews and more action as we ramp up for this year's 2019 Battle of Atlanta. We'll see you soon.